If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon, link is in the description.
Chapter 21 Quilava. Ash was very happy. After selecting all the disciples in Muramasa's dojo, including Muramasa, not only did Heracross and Bayleaf's bonding value increase significantly, he also has 3,000 exchange points in total. He can also redeem another special ability: Psychic, Viridian Force, and Dragon Control. Among them, Psychic has also branched out into several branches, such as Future Sight, Hypnosis, Levitation, Mind Control, Teleport, etc. In Saffron City in the Kanto region, the previous Ash met a psychic user. Her name was Sabrina, the gym leader of the Saffron Gym. She seems to possess various psychic abilities, and her strength is very terrifying. There are even more branches of Viridian Force, including the power of healing, the powering up, the power of evolution, the power of hatching, and a series of abilities closely related to Pokémon. Of course, Ash can also choose to further strengthen his power over aura that he has currently mastered, saving him the trouble of training. So he can choose this. This will additionally give him new ways to use his power. Of course you need to use the money, just leave some for Snorlax to buy system food. After thinking about it, Ash found that his aura had made great progress since the last time he used Bond Evolution with Charizard, and it was still enough for him now. It's still worthwhile to exchange for a new ability and enrich your own means and to get new abilities. So, after careful screening, Ash made a decision. I used my hard-earned exchange points to exchange for a Psychic. This feels so different. To put it simply, the power of the OR strengthens the melee combat ability and perception ability, allowing him to keep up and beat Charizard. And Psychic gave him countless ethereal hands to enhance his combat and support abilities in all aspects. Pikachu, don't panic. After using his minor confusion, Ash smiled softly, and saw Pikachu slowly floating. Pika. After hearing Ash's words, Pikachu became happy after being flustered for a moment. Brock and Misty were not really surprised to see Ash showing off another ability. They knew he was very different from everyone and even his past self. Ash, you are almost a human-shaped Pokémon. Brock could only shake his head and smile bitterly. After coming to the Johto region, Ash changes were really getting bigger and bigger. Only Misty was worried. Ash, stop being so pretentious and put Pikachu down quickly. Hearing this, Ash smiled and said, don't worry, Misty, after awakening my Psychic, my mental power will be much stronger than before, and I won't faint easily from now on. This is really an unexpected surprise that came with this power. Don't faint in the future. Ash almost fell into coma twice, but Misty was worried. Choo-choo. Pikachu, who was suspended in the air, seemed to have discovered something, pointed over there and screamed. Come back, Pikachu. Ash pulled Pikachu back, and the three of them hurried over. After running a few steps, he came under a rock wall. This rock wall is full of caves, which must be connected in all directions. Quilava, give up resistance, I want to catch you. As he got closer, he heard an angry voice. A boy who was a few years older than Ash, armed with a sand slash, forced a Quilava out of the cave. Sand slash is of the ground type. It has type advantage over the fire type of Quilava, and it loses the geographical advantage because of the cave. Obviously, the Quilava is in a very dangerous situation. This Quilava is the evolved form of Cyndaquil, one of the 3 Johto region royal starter. Compared with the timid and gentle Cyndaquil, the evolved Quilava is much braver and stronger. As for the final evolved Typhlosion, its character can be known just from its name, a very pyromaniac nature like a certain dragon slayer. The evolution of Pokémon is so mysterious. After evolution, even the character will change accordingly to the people around it. Facing Sand Slash, who was in a disadvantageous due to his type, Quilava was indeed very brave and did not back out. Sand Slash, use Slash. Sand Slash's claws are very long, which is perfect for Slash. Sure enough, Sand Slash's slash was very powerful. After Quilava dodged, the slash hit a nearby tree, and the tree as thick as a person's waist was cut off neatly. Wow, that Sand Slash is so powerful. Brock, who was watching the battle from the side, said sincerely in admiration. At this time, the trainer noticed Ash and others who were watching the battle. Hey, over there, I've been looking for this Quilava for a week, and I finally forced it out. Leave quickly, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. He talks like a young master. This guy really doesn't know any good manners. Misty became unhappy after hearing this. That Quilava is not something he can conquer. He is not an opponent of it at all. As if to confirm Ash's judgment, the Quilava seemed to be tired of playing, and turned into a ball to easily distance itself from Sandslash, and then blazing flames appeared above its head and behind its back. A flamethrower swallowed Sandslash completely. Damn it! The trainer saw that Sandslash was defeated by Quilava, who was weak to Sandslash's type. After taking it back, he threw 2 more Pokeballs. 2 Pokémon emerged from it, a giant golem and a Tentacruel. No matter which one it is, it can restrain the fire typing that Quilava has. He just said that he has been chasing this Quilava for a week. He has obviously made all kinds of preparations, and all the Pokémon on him are restraining Quilava. 2 against 1, how unfair! Misty was filled with indignation. What he did was indeed a lilt excessive. At least try to make it fair. To be fair, he would probably do the same if he was in this kind of situation. Although there are no clearly written rules for the wild Pokémon capture battle, regularly, trainers still conduct it in a one-on-one battle. If one Pokémon is defeated and the wild Pokémon you want to capture is still willing to continue fighting and not escape, then send the next one to do a wheel battle. The so-called battle of conquest is actually a process of recognition. A Pokémon is willing to be conquered by you only if it recognizes you as its trainer. And in this form, even if Quilava is finally conquered by him, it will never be obedient. Since he's 2 against 1, we can help. Ash smiled confidently, already holding a Pokeball in his hand. Such a good Pokémon deserves to be seen, right? The one who will catch this Pokémon is him. Pikachu, you're up. Iron Tail. Pika Pika. Pikachu responded, jumped off Ash's shoulder, his tail lit up with metallic luster, and slashed at the golem. Golem, get out of the way. Boom. Pikachu's iron tail became more and more powerful. The tail fell to the ground and made a big hole in the ground. You despicable little minion. The guy started to rage at him. As a trainer, of course you have to catch the Pokémon you like when you meet it. Ash couldn't believe his luck, plus he didn't take this person seriously at all. If I catch Quilava today, can you just stay away? If this person's temper was not so hot-headed, Ash would really wait until he failed to subdue him before taking action. But thinking about it, even if he takes action after failing to catch it, he will be targeted by him, so it is better to take action directly. Pikachu, Thunderbolt, attack Tentacruel. Here across, 145/250. Bayleaf, 165/215. Chapter 22 New Catch. Seeing Pikachu joining the battle, Quilava stopped moving and stood not far behind Pikachu and watched quietly. Then, it looked at Ash, who was standing behind it and Pikachu, and the flames above its head and behind its tail went out. Ash, that Quilava's flame is extinguished, is it okay? Misty couldn't help but ask with concern when she saw this scene. In her impression, the flames on the fire Pokémon, such as the flames on Charizard's tail, represent its fire as its life. If the flame is weak, it means that its life is in danger. Ash shook his head. Quilava's flame is different from Charizard's. This is the flame of its fighting spirit. It seems that this little guy is ready to watch the ongoing show. Let Pikachu fight 1 against 2, Ash is really not afraid. Pikachu's sudden thunderbolt was so electrifying that the Tentacruel was burnt on the outside and tender on the inside, perfect with a little soy sauce. Even if it hadn't completely lost its fighting ability, it couldn't do much of anything. Damn it, Golem, roll out. The Golem used rollout, and the ground seemed to be shaking quite a bit. Quick attack to dodge, then use Iron Tail. Ash's order is a bit too fast as the Golem was quickly approaching, but he believes that Pikachu will be able to do it. Pikachu turned into a flash, avoided Golem's rollout, and then chased after him from behind. The tail behind him shimmered with a metallic light, and Pikachu's iron tail became more and more powerful with the more times he uses it in more battles. Before the trainer on the opposite side could react, he watched as Pikachu jumped on top of the Golem during the rollout and smashed it down hard. Daffixus. In just 2 face-to-face encounters, Pikachu had already beaten 2 huge Pokémon on the opposite side to half a pulp. I see, with your strength, even if you prepare several Pokémon that can restrain Fire-type Pokémon, you are still not the opponent of this Quilava. Ash still held the empty Pokeball in his hand, and quickly dismissed this person, subduing the Quilava. It's business. Humph, don't be proud. The cocky trainer seemed to realize that Ash was an extremely powerful trainer and he was not at his level at all. After taking back both Pokémon, he looked at Quilava with a look of reluctance, but made no move. Ash didn't mind that this person was watching. "Quilava, come and fight me, I want you to be my Pokémon." Ash pointed the empty Pokeball at Quilava, which was a gesture to initiate a challenge in order to catch it. Quilava glanced at Ash, stood up, and the flames of fighting spirit appeared on the top of his head and behind his tail once again. It responded to the challenge. This shows that it recognizes Ash as a strong trainer. Damn that rat! Seeing Quilava like this, the cocky guy gritted his teeth. He spent a whole week chasing after this Quilava. The battle alone has been carried out countless times, and the original Cyndaquil has also been battle evolved because of him. After evolving, Quilava has become much tougher in both strength and personality, making it even more difficult to conquer it. Now it seems that everything I have done has made this guy his wedding dress. Pikachu, use quick attack. Pikachu transformed into a white/yellow flash again and ran fast towards Quilava. At that moment, Quilava's figure also disappeared, and he also used his own quick attack to counter Ash's Pikachu's one. Judging from the speed it was showing at the moment, its battle with Sand just now was indeed just playing tricks on his opposition. Pikachu and Quilava, using the same move, quick attack, collided fiercely against each other. With physical contact, Pikachu let out a cry of pain and retreated. When Ash saw it, Pikachu's head turned red. Quilava on the opposite side seemed to be doing the same. He rubbed his head with his tiny paws, then suddenly lowered his head, and pointed the flame above his head at Pikachu. Flamethrower. Of course Ash recognized this classic fire skill, and it was so fast that Pikachu had no time to avoid it. Pikachu, Thunderbolt. Pikachu quickly followed it using his own attack. The galloping thunder and lightning collided with the scorching pillar of fire, and the resulting explosive hot air wave and whirlwind blew the guy who had been watching the battle on the side. This series of head-on collisions opened his eyes to stronger power. Pikachu and Quilava were also whipped by the blast of air, but with a flash of blue light in Ash's eyes, he easily caught Pikachu and protected it from the explosion. After all, it was a wild battle, so this was not considered cheating by Ash, in his own rule book. Now is the time. Before the blast of the explosion completely subsided, Ash's eyes lit up and he threw the Pokeball he had been holding in his hand for quite some time. With the increased power of Aura, this ordinary Pokeball broke through the impact of the explosive hot air and accurately hit Quilava, who was still a little dizzy on the ground. Pokeball, it only flashed twice and then went out. Ash just got a very strong Quilava. From the previous contact, the Quilava actually stood aside and watched the battle between Pikachu and Golem, which shows that this little guy's character is brave, decisive and a little prankster at heart. His compatibility with Ash is obviously very high. Sure enough, after system testing, Quilava's bonding value directly reached 120/195, which is only 5 points lower than Bayleaf, which evolved for Ash's safety. Of course, the bond value has just been conquered after all, so it is already good to have 120. I just got a Quilava. Pikachu. Damn it. Seeing that Ash actually catching the Quilava that he has been hunting for such a long time, the brash guy cursed angrily. He just glanced at Ash and turned around to leave. If after a week of hard work, it was all in vain, and no one would feel any nice if someone does this to them. But in fact, even if it weren't for Ash, he wouldn't be able to catch this Quilava. After a week of trying, he should have recognized this fact but he didn't. Only by calming down and improving the levels of yourself and your Pokémon will you be able to use them with ease in your future journeys. Of course, Ash would not be so kind as to remind him. Congratulations, Ash, for adding another Pokémon. After the evolution of Bayleaf, Ash got the Fire-type starter from the Johto region, and this was also evolved. At this moment alone, Ash's level of Pokémon evolution has surpassed that of his trip during the Kanto saga. So next, we have to go to Azalea Town. Pikachu, 215/255. Chapter 23 Slowpoke God. Azalea Town. Although this is just a small town in the Johto region, in terms of prosperity, it is completely different to Violet City. The mountains are not too high, the town is quite famous, land is not too bad, just like Pallet Town in Kanto region. Even though Pallet Town is just a rural town, it is highly valued because it is home to the famous Pokémon Professor Oak. In this Azalea Town, there lives a Mr. Kurt, who can use special apricorn fruits to make Pokeballs with special functions. Apart from this, it is also the location of the Johto Region's bug-type gym. Ash's destination is exactly here, the gym. He accepted Professor Oak's commission to send a special GS ball to Mr. Kurt for investigation and figure out what it is. But as we left the forest, the sun grew brighter and brighter as we walked closer to the town. As they walked on the road, they could see that both sides of the road were becoming more and more deserted, and the fields seemed to be dying by the lack of water. It seems that it has not rained in this area of Azalea Town for quite a long time. Bayleaf, Quilava, you should also take a rest. Taking advantage of such a bright sun, Ash of course wanted to train 2 Pokémon. In sunny weather, the training effect is very good whether it is Bayleaf or Quilava. Misty, being the water-type expert, threw her Pokeball, Staryu, please help everyone cool up. The water gun shot in the from sky brought a lot of coolness to everyone. Bayleaf will definitely feel better after being nourished by water after being exposed to the sun. Ash did not take a break with Misty or Brock, but just took some water for Quilava to drink. You can't use water gun because it will damage the fire type, Quilava. After a sufficient rest, Ash and his party walked into Azalea Town in high spirits. It hasn't rained for so long that the river has dried up. Moreover, due to the continuous drought, Azalea Town began to implement limited water supply, and most public places were temporarily closed, including the Azalea Gym. Therefore, Ash and his team decided to go to Mr. Kit's place. Slowpoke can be seen everywhere in this small town and seems to have formed a symbiotic relationship with the residents. Ash and the others walked carefully. According to the introduction in the travel brochure, people here respect Slowpoke very much and follow this unique tradition that makes Slowpoke their god. Brock read aloud. According to reports, 400 years ago, Azalea Town experienced a more severe drought than this time. The sun was extremely strong, it was very hot, and there was no rain for a long time. Just then, one day, a Slowpoke appeared and with a yawn, which caused the clouds to darken and it rained heavily in an instant, saving the entire town. Since then, Slowpoke has been worshipped as a god here, and the Slowpoke well has been opened for the Slowpoke gods to reside in. If you accidentally step on them, the whole town might rush out and fight you and the others. But as soon as they reached the door of Mr. Kit's house after asking for directions, the group was hit by a huge Slowpoke. Pikachu, stop! Spark flashes on Pikachu's cheeks, which is just a subconscious action when it encounters a sudden attack. Ash quickly stopped Pikachu and then noticed that this was not a Slowpoke, it was just a person wearing a large Slowpoke costume. Ouch, my waist! Sure enough, an old voice appeared from the doll costume. Ash and Brock quickly helped the man up. After all, this was the Pokémon world and they were not worried about being blackmailed by the old man because he got hurt. Uncle, are you okay? Ash asked with concern. This Slowpoke shook his head, it's okay, I don't have time to do it now, so I'll say goodbye for now. As he said that, he was about to stand up and run out, but the collision just now caused it to reach his waist, and the pain made him unable to move. My waist. No, I have to go to Slowpoke well quickly. I just noticed a strange sound in Slowpoke well. With that, he tried to run out. Ash immediately carried him behind him and rushed towards Slowpoke well. Young man, thank you. Arriving at the bottom of the Slowpoke well, Ash and his party met an acquaintance again. The Rocket Trio must have heard that Slowpoke here can ash for rain, so they actually built another machine god knows how, and caught several Slowpoke inside. Team Rocket, it's you again. But this time, Team Rocket had no intention of fighting Ash and the others, so they used Dig with their and escaped. Don't even think about running away, bring the Slowpokes back. Ash put the old man down and rushed out in one stride, but Team Rocket's machine Dig was so fast that he disappeared in an instant. Shot. Just when Ash was about to use his aura abilities to track them down, a Slowpoke that was slightly larger in size came next to Ash. After looking at him, Slowpoke suddenly let out a shout, and then all the Slowpoke responded. Under the leadership of the big Slowpoke, all the Slowpoke began to walk outside and came to a high ground outside the well. Ash and his party quickly took the old man out of the well, only to see that all the Slowpoke started yawning together. It looks like it, but this is actually not yawn, but the move, rain dance. It's just that to use them in such a large R, they needed to unite and use it together. After a while, the weather that was still sunny just now suddenly became dense with dark clouds and heavy rain fell. You could hear the whole Azalea town laughing and screaming. The rainwater gathered together, poured into the well, and then poured into the large hole dug by Team Rocket, flushing it out at once. After all, it is the rain dance used by dozens of Slowpoke. The amount of rain is really amazing. If it were not for the Slowpoke well down here, I am afraid that Azalea Town will face floods just after the drought they were facing. Team Rocket, I won't let you off lightly this time. As Ash finished speaking, Pikachu was already flashing with lightning, and a thunderbolt could explode at any time. Just when Team Rocket was panicking, the Slowpoke, which looked a lot bigger, suddenly appeared next to Pikachu. This Slowpoke was able to command all the other Slowpokes just now, and it looked very different, with particularly bright intelligent eyes. Pikachu. Pika. Pikachu seemed to have communicated with the Slowpoke, and he suddenly became pleasantly surprised. He looked at Ash and cheered Pika Pika again. Pikachu's bond value was extremely high, and Ash immediately understood its meaning. Very good, then. Slowpoke use Water Pulse. This Slowpoke's reaction was not like a regular Slowpoke at all. As soon as Ash finished speaking, his Water Pulse was activated. The combined skill of water and electricity blew Team Rocket into the sky at once. Team Rocket is blasting off again. The Slowpoke captured by Team Rocket ran out one after another and gathered around the bigger Slowpoke. However, the big Slowpoke slowly turned around and looked at Ash. When the old guy wearing a Slowpoke puppet costume saw this scene, he couldn't help but exclaimed, "I didn't think that I was possible, but you young man became recognized by the great Slowpoke god. It's really amazing. I never thought I would be able to see this with my own eyes. Young man, your name is Ash, right? Please catch this Slowpoke. It wants you to be its trainer. Catch Slowpoke?" Ash didn't think much, nodded quickly and looked at the Slowpoke, then Slowpoke, welcome to the team. Throw the Pokeball, and it quickly subdued the Slowpoke. After just a slight flicker, the Pokeball went out. Slowpoke, 130/180. Chapter 24 Squirtle, Apricorns. Unknowingly, Ash had already captured 4 Pokémon during his time in the Johto region. Heracross, Bayleaf, Quilava, plus the newly captured Slowpoke, plus Pikachu, Snorlax, and Squirtle that are now with him, Ash's number of Pokémon once again reached 7. Therefore, Ash decided to teleport Squirtle to Professor Oak's lab. Maybe Squirtle felt something during this period. After all, Ash put a lot of energy into the new Pokémon and rarely trained it anymore. Instead, he used it as a sparring partner to help other Pokémon. Also, Charizard, who traveled with them and quickly evolved to the final stage, gained new powers after arduous training, which made him envious. In fact, Bulbasaur had accumulated enough power to evolve not long after being caught by Ash. In Venusaur's mysterious garden, the elder Venusaur wanted to use his power to help the Bulbasaurs evolve. However, Ash's Bulbasaur refused. It suppressed the power emerging in the body and gave up on evolution. It wants to prove that even without evolving, you can still gain great power. But in Kanto's Indigo League challenge, it got beat quite a lot with Squirtle, and also caused Ash to suffer a big losses. Although it was not a big loss to Ash as he could try again in the future, it was still obvious that if they had a stronger body, they would definitely be able to help Ash achieve better results. Achievements. Squirtle has been silently suppressing and not evolving because of the group of younger Squirtles that had been following before being accepted by Ash. As a Squirtle Legion, doesn't evolution mean betrayal? However, for Squirtle who voluntarily followed Ash and became his Pokémon, is this considered a double-minded intention? Now, there are 6 Pokémon around Ash. Even the Big Eater who only knows how to sleep all day long is also taken by Ash, but he, a former main battler, is teleported back. After returning to Professor Oak's backyard, Squirtle and Bulbasaur had an in-depth discussion on the issue of evolution, but could not come up with a result. In fact, they know in their hearts that Ash is willing to respect them and allow them to choose the life they like even if they are not willing to evolve. Bulbasaur seems to have found a job that he is qualified for. Before he was taken over by Ash, he took care of the Pokémon there in Pokémon Township. Now he manages the backyard of the laboratory, which is very suitable for him. But what about Squirtle? It was willing to follow Ash, but didn't it want to get stronger for him? Of course, Ash, who was far away in the Johto region, would not know the thoughts of these 2 Pokémons. He was about to go to the mountain behind Mr. Kit's house to pick a few apricorn fruits to create Pokeballs with special functions. The uncle who helped them at Slowpoke well was none other than the renowned Kurt. Not only is he an outstanding craftsman who can turn apricorn fruits into Pokeballs, he is also responsible for guarding the Slowpoke well in this Azalea town. It's a pity that even he has never seen the GS ball or has any ideas about what it really is. But after handing GS ball to Kurt for investigation, Ash and his team's mission was completed. In order to thank Ash and his group for saving their lives at Slowpoke well, he not only gave each of the 3 people a fast ball, but also allowed Ash to go to the back mountain to pick some apricorn fruits to make special Pokeballs for them. Ash was of course not polite about this and wholeheartedly accepted this arrangement. As a Pokemon trainer, who can resist the temptation of special Pokeball? The apricorn fruit comes in 7 colors, white, red, blue, black, pink, green, and yellow, so each Pokeball made with the fruit has its own individual characteristics. Kit's granddaughter introduced the relevant information of the apricorn fruits to Ash and his party. In the backyard of his home, only white fruits are grown, so Ash and his team need to go to the back mountain to pick the apricorns themselves. This is a pink apricorn fruit. Arriving at the back mountain, she pointed to a tree covered with pink fruits and introduced, the Pokeball made from this fruit can be used on Pokemon of a different gender than your own. Hearing this, Brock immediately thought, maybe it will be effective on Nurse Joy or Officer Jenny. Look at the look in his eyes. Misty couldn't stand it any longer, so she twisted his ears and interrupted his thoughts. Ash also twitched the corner of his mouth, thinking that this guy also someone who can distinguish between the Nurse Joys and Officer Jennys from different places around the Pokemon world. It's a pity that these apricorn fruits are not ripe yet and cannot be picked. Also, don't pick too many at one time, otherwise the tree will die. The little girl gave them her knowledge. Walking a few steps further, you can see the yellow apricorn fruit. This is used to create moon balls for Pokemon that use moonstones to evolve. Unfortunately, this one was still not ripe yet to be picked. Drake wouldn't mind this at all. He likes them young and ripe. This is a chance. Ash and his party came here at this time. The fruit is not yet ripe, so it can only be said that they have no chance. In addition to the apricorn fruits, various Pokemon seem to live here, guarding these trees from dying. That's the green apricorn tree. In front of the group, a large apricorn tree with green fruits appeared. That fruit can be made into a friend ball. After looking at it, she said in surprise, it should be no problem to pick one of the apricorns over there. Upon hearing this, Ash was about to step forward to pick, but a large group of Beedrill suddenly appeared in front of him. Beedrill has always been a nightmare for trainers in the wild. One of them is not that scary, but once you attack back, you will attract an overwhelming number of Beedrills. I only picked one. In the past, Ash would have immediately turned around and ran away with Misty and Brock. But this time, blue light color flashed in Ash's eyes, and all the Beedrills stopped moving, unable to move any further. This is... The little girl was shocked by the scene in front of her. She was so scared that she hid behind Misty, but she found that these 2 elder brothers and sister did not panic at all when facing these Beedrills, as if this already happened before. Ash picked a green apricorn, picked it with Psychic, and returned to Misty and Brock. Are you ready? With that said, he took the lead and ran away holding the little girl in his arms. The Beedrills behind him broke away from his Psychic and immediately chased the whole group. Misty's and Brock's expression changed greatly, and they quickly ran away. Fortunately, these Beedrills did not pursue them very far from the tree. The 4 people who stopped looked at the green apricorn in Ash's hand and laughed. It was so exciting, this was amazing. Kit's granddaughter happily laughed. Of course, since there is a chance, Ash took Misty and Brock to pick 2 blue apricorn and 1 black tangerine. Blue apricorn fruits can be crafted into lure balls for catching water-type Pokemon. The heavy ball made from the black apricorns is aimed towards Pokemon with a relatively large body weight. After the production of the balls was completed, Ash got a heavy ball, a fast ball, and a lure ball. Misty, a water-based trainer, also received a lure ball. Brock wants to become a breeder, a friend ball is certainly the most suitable one. He also managed to catch a pineco in the back mountains that fit his personality. Chapter 25 HIV Badge. Professor Oak's mission here is completed, and the drought in Azalea Town has also passed, which is an added bonus. The Azalea Gym has reopened, and now it's finally time to challenge the gym. Is this really the Azalea Gym? It looks like a botanical garden from here. Standing at the entrance of the gym and walking slowly inside, Misty still didn't know what she would face next. Ash couldn't help but remind her, Misty, you do know what type of gym this is, right? What? Ash and Brock didn't need to answer, Misty had already reacted. This Azalea gym is a bug-type gym. Before she could make any move, Caterpie and Metapod suddenly hung down from the tree and appeared directly in front of her. There are insects here. Misty knew it subconsciously, so she threw herself on Ash's back and hid behind his head, not daring to look directly at the bug-type Pokémon around her. She has always been close to Ash and her reliance on him is getting more and more. Ash couldn't help but smile bitterly. Misty was deathly afraid of bug Pokémon, of course they knew that. However, seeing these Caterpies, he still missed his Butterfree, who flew away with his girlfriend. He doesn't know what he was doing now. I'm sorry, you see my companion is very afraid of insects. Gently patting Misty's arm, Ash looked at the boy who appeared from behind the tree. It's okay, but don't you think bug Pokémon is the best Pokémon? The boy said. I think Pokémon in itself is the best. I like insect Pokémon and I also like bird Pokémon. Ash replied. No one is qualified to impose his own preferences on others, and force others to agree with his own preferences, right? Hearing what he said, the boy took another look at Ash and finally nodded, yes, that's true. I should say sorry for this. Hello, I am the leader of the Azalea Gym, call me Bugsy, I'm the Bug Pokémon Encyclopedia. Pleased to meet you all. I'm Ash from Pallet Town, and I'm here to challenge the Azalea Gym. The battle begins like this. The Azalea Gym is very much like a botanical garden. The battle site is in the middle of a dense forest, surrounded by trees. It is obviously very beneficial to bug Pokémon. Now begins the official competition between Azalea Gym leader Bugsy and challenger Ash from Pallet Town, with the Hive badge as the challenger's prize. The number of Pokémon used is limited to 3. Ash, let me tell you something, whoever catches bug Pokémon can conquers the world. Have you ever heard of this sentence? Bugsy asked again before the battle began. That's too dumb for me to even comprehend, what the heck does it even mean? Ash was just having his inner monologue. Until now, the two gym leaders in the Johto region are quite strange. One is obsessed with bird Pokémon and the other is obsessed over bug-type Pokémon. But before he could answer, Bugsy had already sent out his first Pokémon. As a rule of the gym challenge, the gym leader must send out their Pokémon first, so that challengers can adjust their strategies based on their first Pokémon. The silent warrior of bug Pokémon, go ahead, Spinarak. Of course, Ash is very familiar with Spinarak. During his time in that strange place where the officers of that place had to have a Spinarak as their partner, during that time they also partnered with a Spinarak to arrest the Rocket Trio. That was also the most comfortable period of Ash's journey. Coincidentally, Team Rocket was about to break into the gym when they were caught again by the bug-type Pokémon in the gym. It's up to you, Slowpoke. Neither Misty nor Brock expected that Ash would actually send out the Psychic-type Slowpoke that he had just captured. But seeing this Slowpoke, Bugsy's expression changed. I didn't expect you to be recognized by the Slowpoke god. Ash, facing you, I must use my full strength. The problem is, Slowpoke is a water-type and Psychic-type Pokémon, and bug-type attacks are super effective against it. String Shot. The String Shot attack of the Spinarak easily hit the Slowpoke. No matter how different this Slowpoke was, its speed was still its major weakness. You can't move. Bugsy thought he had a chance to win. Use Poison Jab. Slowpoke, use Water Pulse. Water Pulse did not hit the Spinarak, but was thrown to the ground by Slowpoke. Then, Water Pulse turned into a wave more than 2 meters high, and turned into a shield to block Poison Jab. My turn, Confusion. Slowpoke is a water and Psychic-type Pokémon. Perhaps it was because of Ash's Psychic that he accepted Ash as his trainer. Its eyes flashed with a pink light, enveloping the Spinarak. Spinarak. The Spinarak has been unable to move, and Bugsy has nothing to do. It is not good at physical strength and can't break free from the comfort of confusion. Bugsy could only watch as Slowpoke smashed his beloved Spinarak to the ground and then lost the ability to fight. Ash's Slowpoke is so strong. Misty compared her Psyduck, both of them knew how to use confusion, and they both looked dumb. Why is there such a big gap? Come back, Slowpoke. After all, Slowpoke is still stuck to the web made by Spinarak, and may be much easier to beat in the next battle. Seeing Ash take back the Slowpoke, Bugsy glanced at him and said, my second Pokémon is the most proud shield of bug Pokémon, Shuckle. Ash's expression changed when he saw this Pokémon. For no other reason than Shuckle's species strength distribution was very disgustingly defensive. The attack and special attack are extremely low, but the defense and special defense are extremely high to the point it has higher defensive stats than most legendary Pokémons. If paired with another move like Power Trick or Body Press. So it's a Shuckle, then it's up to you, Bayleaf. After Bayleaf came out, she got used to returning to her trainer's side, please. Of course Ash loves his little Pokémon who also loves him very much. Ash, are you looking down on me? Facing my bug type, you still dare bring out grass type Pokémon to challenge me? Bugsy was a little angry, and Ash took out a Pokémon restrained by bug type one after another. However, Ash shook his head, of course I have my own plans for using Bayleaf, come on. Sure enough, Bugsy's first command was the psychic skill, Shuckle, use Power Split. This skill can force the attack and special attack capabilities of both the enemy and themselves into an average value. Shuckle, whose own attack and special attack are very low, suddenly became on par with his Bayleaf. However, Shuckle's defense and special defense have not changed, they are always stupidly high. However, Ash himself allowed Bugsy to level the attacks of both sides, and at the same time let Bayleaf use her move, Poison Powder. The purple powder enveloped Shuckle almost at the same time. No matter how high its defense was and it fell into a poisoned state, its health would continue to be deducted throughout the ordeal. I understand, Ash used Bayleaf just to poison Shuckle. Brock finally came to his senses. I didn't expect Ash to use this stall tactic to defeat his opponent. Ash is no longer the newcomer who only knows how to attack and no other tactics. In this bug-type gym challenge, Ash can be said to be fighting against the typings to the very end. The battle continued where Bayleaf to just circle around Shuck while it can't do anything because of its low speed. It got knocked out because of being poisoned at the beginning of their confrontation. Bugsy didn't like that and looked very pissed. They both returned their Pokémon to have some rest. Now for the last one. Facing the third Pokémon sent by Bugsy, Scyther, Ash actually sent out his Heracross, which was also a bug type. Instead, the fire type Quilava had no chance to battle. However, Scyther is of bug type and flying type, while Heracross is of bug type and fighting type, so it has its advantages there. Strike first, Scyther, use quick attack. Bugsy let Scyther take advantage of her speed and rush forward first. But seeing this scene, Ash smiled instead. Facing Heracross, Bugsy only used quick attack to attack. This shows that this Scyther has no flying skills at all. Heracross, you know what to do. Scyther's is also very cool, with two sharp scythes standing upright, turning into a flash and charging towards Heracross. His Heracross's eyes were fixed on Scyther's figure, and then, his strong arms easily held Scyther's scythe, forcibly fixing its figure. How can it be? Bugsy couldn't believe the scene before him, but Heracross's attack hadn't started yet. Heracross, use Mega Horn. The very first move he used was one of bug type's strongest move. Heracross's big horn flashed with the dazzling bug green light, knocking Scyther away. Scyther loses the ability to fight and Heracross wins, so the winner is the challenger, Ash from Pallet Town. Scyther, come back, you did a good job, but the challenger is too strong for us. Bugsy took Scyther back and looked at Ash. Ash, you are really powerful. One of the strongest I have fought with. This Hive badge is yours. The Hive badge is now ours. Pikachu. Slowpoke, 135/180. Bayleaf, 195/215. Heracross, 145/250. Chapter 26 Psyduck. Ilex Forest is a forest in the southern suburbs of Johto Region, next to Azalea Town. The forest here is lush and leafy, blocking out the view of the sky and the sun. Even during the day, it is as dark as it is at night. In terms of atmosphere, it is a bit like the Viridian Forest when he first went there. This forest feels really nice. Misty enjoyed walking through this forest. Now that Ash has the power of an Aura Guardian, they won't get lost so easily, so Misty feels very relaxed. Of course she didn't know that there were a wide variety of bug-type Pokémon living in the Ilex Forest. It was Ash who deliberately took her away from the bug-type Pokémon colony, which made her feel so happy without knowing anything. Through this Ilex Forest, the closest one to us is the Goldenrod Gym in Goldenrod City. Brock said with a smile while looking at the travel brochure. Goldenrod City. Misty became excited when she heard about this city. I know that Goldenrod City is the largest city and economic and technological center in Johto Region. It can even rival Saffron City in the Kanto region. As a woman, Misty can't resist the excitement of going shopping in such a big city with so many things to explore. Moreover, Ash also knew that this mermaid girl was a foodie deep down. This is coming out of the Pokémon Center in the woods and going to their destination. Ash and his party saw an old well-maintained shrine dedicated to Celebi, the keeper of the forest. Near this ancient shrine, Ash found an open space that was perfect for camping and training some of his Pokémons. Come out, Snorlax, Heracross, Bayleaf, Quilava, Slowpoke. Snorlax had just eaten Ash's special food from the system in the morning and fell asleep with great satisfaction. Heracross and Bayleaf obviously liked the feeling of this forest. Heracross ran to a tree and started to suck out the sap. Bayleaf quickly ran to next to Ash's side. It liked the feeling of being next to her trainer very much. Quilava seemed lazy, turned himself into a ball and lay next to him. Only Slowpoke, as if he had discovered something, slowly moved in one direction. Hey, Slowpoke, where are you going? Ash was very curious about what this Slowpoke was doing. In the process of getting along with it, Ash discovered that this Slowpoke was definitely very intelligent, but its slow and leisurely movements made it look dull. So, Ash decided to follow up and have a look. He was too lazy to take the Pokémon back. Brock, please help me take care of Snorlax, Heracross and Quilava while I'm gone. Okay, don't worry. Brock, who was cooking and preparing food, easily agreed. Misty also leaned against Snorlax and waved lazily to say bye. Let's go. After saying this, Ash was followed by Pikachu and Bayleaf. Unexpectedly, Slowpoke slowly came to a small stream deep in the forest. That is. In that stream, a yellow Pokémon, as if it had no hope of life, lay motionless on its back in the water, watching the clouds swimming in the sky, role-playing a salty fish without dreams. Isn't that a Psyduck? That was indeed Psyduck, and it looked very different from Misty's God Duck. Misty's Psyduck is a real piece of work, slow to react, and often doesn't understand what Misty's orders are. It will often run out of the Pokeball inexplicably, holding its head and looking very confused, which is very cute but sometimes gets annoying. The most powerful thing is that when it has a headache, it will erupt into a very amazing psychic state. Even though Misty always dislikes it on the outside, she actually loves it the most inside. What's wrong with this little guy? Ash squatted down next to Slowpoke and looked at the Psyduck not far away. Hearing his trainer's murmur, Slowpoke looked at Ash, and then his eyes began to flash with blue light. Is this future sight? Looking at Slowpoke, Ash recognized this skill at once. In the system wall, he could also exchange it for a similar skill, also called Future Sight. However, Pokémon's Future Sight can summon a ball of psychic energy to attack sometime in the future. And the ability to foresee the future that he can redeem is only able to see the future within a few seconds. After a while, Ash learned from the image passed by Slowpoke that this Psyduck was released in this place by its trainer. To be precise, it should be said that it was abandoned here. Ash has seen too many examples of trainers abandoning their Pokémon. His Charizard was cruelly abandoned by its original trainer, and then subdued by him, becoming the Pokémon it is today. The fact that Charizard is so obsessed with strength and even completed its final evolution in a short period of time may be related to his experience of being abandoned in the past. Perhaps in its subconscious mind, it was abandoned because it was not strong enough. It will not listen to the orders of its predecessor, Ash, because it thinks that Ash, a rookie trainer, cannot give it the power it desires. Of course, Charizard no longer needs to worry about this problem. Its connection with Ash has given it a new form and stronger power. Ash walked up to the little Psyduck and said, "Little guy, come with me." Hearing Ash's voice, Psyduck opened his eyes and looked at him, but still closed his eyes like a Chinese salted fish without any dreams for the future. Ash simply checked the compatibility between him and this Psyduck, and the result was very disappointing. 0/40. Ash has never seen such a low fit, which shows that this Psyduck cannot listen to what he says at all, no matter how hard it is trained. He and this Psyduck simply don't get along, and neither one can deal with the other. Okay, then I won't say anything. Ash didn't even think about evading his words. He just threw a Pokeball and took the Psyduck in. This Psyduck was really desperate. The Pokeball didn't flicker at all and just went dark. With such a low fit, it is obvious that this Psyduck is not suitable for Ash to train at all. But, little guy, I will find you a suitable trainer. And the opportunity to fulfill the promise came quickly. On the way out of Ilex Forest and towards Goldenrod City, Ash and his party passed by a town called Pompana, where a big celebration was being held. And at that celebration, a Pokémon swap meet was being held. Slowpoke, 135/180. Chapter 27 Festival. Wobbuffet, you should straighten your back so that your posture looks good. Also, you have to act cute, so everyone will have like you. Just when Ash and his party walked out of Ilex Forest and arrived outside Pompana Town, they suddenly heard a voice. Following the sound, he saw a boy of the same age training a blue Pokémon. Ash's eyes lit up. Isn't this Jessie's Wobbuffet? Wobbuffet, who followed Jessie for several regions, was accidentally exchanged for her Lickitung at an exchange festival. It is the strongest protective shield of the Rockets trio, which often frustrates Ash and his team. Later they discovered that this Wobbuffet had a very high IQ and had excellent independent thinking in battle. Although Jessie's command is counter every time, Wobbuffet can judge whether the opponent's skill is a physical attack or a special attack, and then performs the counter or mirror coat skills on his own. He was even able to resist the attack of many legendary Pokémon and save their lives. Hello, my name is Ash, and may I ask what are you doing? Ash asked knowingly. My name is Benny, and I want to take Wobbuffet to the Pokémon Exchange Festival. I'm making final adjustments to it. Benny introduced himself. The predecessor Ash once did a Pokémon exchange, exchanging his Butterfree with Eradicate. But he soon regretted it and changed it again. For him, the Pokémon he worked so hard to breed would never be exchanged. But if it was Pokémon's own decision, he was willing to respect it. For example, this Wobbuffet is obviously looking forward to being exchanged and looking for a new trainer. But this Pokémon of yours doesn't look impressive at all. Can it really be exchanged? Misty looked at Wobbuffet, and even if it was a little rude, she was really telling the truth. Brock quickly reminded her. Only then did Misty react and quickly changed her words, no, he looks pretty cute if you look closely. Laughing awkwardly. But Benny didn't care. Yeah, I really like Wobbuffet, but I also want to breed other Pokémon. Seeing this, Ash quietly took a look at Psyduck's condition. He seemed to have had a good rest in the Pokeball. Psyduck looked much more energetic now. The Benny in front of him is very suitable for Psyduck. He obviously cares about breeder rather than the strength of the opponent. Psyduck will be fine following him. Well, I have a Psyduck here. Ash summoned Psyduck. Sure enough, although its spirit status is still a bit poor, it is already very good compared to before. Hey, Ash, when did you catch a Psyduck? Misty asked confused. When we were in Ilex Forest before. Ash explained, and then looked at Benny. If you are willing, I want to exchange this Psyduck for your Wobbuffet, but I hope you promise me to take good care of it, never exchange it again. Benny seemed to be able to sense the melancholy hidden under Psyduck's dull eyes, which were really charming. Ash, can I ask what's going on with this Psyduck? He actually already liked this Psyduck. Ash took a look and spent the redemption points to enable the fitness query function. If Ash redeemed the power of Viridian Force, there would be no problems in this regard. The compatibility between Benny and this Psyduck is 150, which is enough for him to breed it well. Its previous trainer abandoned it in Ilex Forest, so it is a little depressed. If you can, please breed it properly, then I will be very grateful to you. He did not hide anything and told the whole truth. Hearing this, Benny stared into Psyduck's eyes and nodded quickly, I will breed it well, and I promise you that I will never exchange it again. Since both parties agreed, Ash and his party quickly followed Benny to the inside of Pompana. After arriving here, Ash and his team discovered that there are many activities in this celebration, and there are various special competitions before the actual exchange festival. Ash and Benny had just completed the exchange when they saw a group of Tauros suddenly rushing in from outside the town. Yet. Not only did the people in the town not panic at all, but they were so excited that they cheered so loudly. What is this? Brock asked standing in the distance. This is a local special show, the Tauros Chase. Benny introduced, holding Psyduck's Pokeball. If anyone can touch Tauros' horns, they will be praised as the most courageous person here. This is a great honor to some. But it's very dangerous to pull of, most get injured when they try to get too close the herd. Hey, where is Ash? Ash, who had just put away the Wobbuffet Pokeball, disappeared in the blink of an eye. Misty quickly looked around. Then, she saw his figure, standing in front of Tauros' attack. Ash, danger! But Ash can no longer hear her voice. Look at me! Look at me! Facing the oncoming Tauros, Ash grinned with a confident smile. Even Pikachu on his shoulder didn't look panicked at all. I saw him holding the horns of the leader Tauros, pulling him, turning 360 degrees in the air, and sitting firmly on Tauros' back. So cool. This young man is so awesome. He actually completed the task in this way and even rode Tauros. Let's cheer for his great courage. Have you enjoyed seeing the Tauros chase? Next is the long-awaited show, the one-on-one duel between Tauros and Tauros. Battle of Tauros. Ash rode on the back of the leader Tauros and entered a small battle venue. The Tauros battle has begun. Before the Tauros could stop, he had already rolled over and went to the Pokémon Center to find Professor Oak. Professor Oak, please help me send over my Tauros, and then please help me send this Pokémon to my mother. He had captured a total of 30 Tauros, but he decided to send them back to the Safari Zone because they were not all trained and caused many trouble for the Pokémons in the lab and to the professor himself. He only kept the strongest one, which also had the highest bond with him. In order to catch Psyduck, Ash temporarily sent here across to Professor Oak, who had asked Ash several times to send it over so he could collect some data from here across. As for this Wobbuffet, its compatibility with Ash actually reached 200, but rather than taking it with him as a shield, Ash thought it would be more appropriate to let it accompany Delia. Wobbuffet is a very gentle Pokémon that will definitely accompany Delia's mother well. It doesn't have any offensive moves to attack the opponent, so it could only stand there. Tauros that Ash asked Professor Oak for was also the strongest one among the 30 Tauros that Ash accidentally caught, and has the highest bond, reaching 127. Okay, I got it. Taking Tauros, Ash returned to the battle venue. Ash, you are back. Misty and Brock have been waiting for him at this venue. Awesome, the champions Tauros has won 8 games in a row. Wait, would you look at that, that's the young warrior who just successfully touched the horns of Tauros' boss. He's back. Let's cheer for him once again. The applause and shouts are the glory of a trainer. I'm Ash from Pallet Town, and I have decided to challenge you, go Tauros. Ash's Tauros came on the scene, and his momentum was truly amazing. And Tauros, who is able to win 8 games in a row on the opposite side, is obviously not to be underestimated. Young trainer, come on. His opponent on the other side also admired Ash very much and made up his mind to go all out. Tauros, use takedown. Asterisk 2. The 2 ferocious bulls stamped their hooves on the ground with such force that the ground seemed to be shaking under their footsteps. At the moment of collision, the horns of the bull clashed violently. The 2 Tauros began to wrestle, and neither would give in this fight. In the end, it was Ash's Tauros who was superior and won the victory. He also won 10 consecutive victories and won the final victory. Tauros, 138/240. Chapter 28 Wardardle. After 10 consecutive victories, the compatibility between Tauros and Ash has actually increased to 138 points. Of course, the bonding value is still far from being full, but it's going up. Now Heracross is detained by Professor Oak, hoping to have more time to conduct research. Of course, Ash would not refuse Professor Oak's request. Originally, Ash just wanted to travel with Tauros for a while and just train some more before the gym battle. It just happened that a group of them noticed that a firefighting Grand Prix was being held at a large battle venue outside the town. So, Ash got his Squirtle back from the professor. When the time comes, it is up to him to decide whether to stay or go with his group. Ash is willing to respect the Pokémon's decision, but that doesn't mean he has to like it in his heart. If it thinks that's where it should go, then he is also willing to let it go. Hey, isn't this Ash? As soon as he received Squirtle and arrived at the competition venue, Ash met an acquaintance. Captain Aidon. This man, with 5 Wartortles, saluted solemnly, "Long time no see, how are you doing?" Ash and Pikachu quickly replied, "Very good. These Wartortles look great both in appearance and body. The Wardardle team composed of them is an excellent Pokémon Fire team. This Mr. Russell is the leader of the Wardardle team." When Ash met Squirtle, he led 4 other Squirtles to form a team of trouble-making Squirtles in the local area, causing trouble and mischief everywhere. Later, Ash's Squirtle, who was the boss of them, volunteered to follow him, and the remaining 4 Squirtles followed the local officer Jenny to form a Squirtle Squad Pokémon Fire Brigade. Obviously, Aidon came here to participate in the Firefighting Grand Prix. Here, there are many experts, including Team Quagsire, Team Golduck, Team Magikarp, etc. As soon as Ash turned around, he noticed Officer Jenny coming with Team Squirtle. "Squirtle, it's up to you to decide your destiny." Ash summoned his Squirtle, and it immediately noticed his former companions and hurried up to say hello. They high-fived each other in their own way with their tails, seemingly in perfect harmony. The Fire Grand Prix is finally about to begin. This is a competition where Pokémon Fire teams from all over the region compete for the championship in pairs of 4. The first game is a fire-out competition. On both sides of the battlefield, a small wooden house was prepared. The moment the game was announced, the small house was engulfed in flames. There should be some mechanism underneath the venue. First up, Team Mook for the first time, and Team Squirtle for the first time in this conference. Ash and Squirtle were sitting on the coaching bench, looking at the expressions of the 4 Squirtles. They seemed to be very panicked, making people worried that they would not be able to display their normal abilities. Everyone, calm down and just show your usual strength. Officer Jenny, the person in charge, comforted her, but it obviously had no effect. These Squirtles are also well trained and can effectively complete firefighting tasks locally, but it is different here. This is a competition scene in front of a large audience. They have never experienced such a situation before. Sure enough, after the small house was ignited by flames and the game was announced, the Mook team immediately began to take effective measures and used the mud near them to extinguish the fire. However, the 4 Squirtles of the Squirtle team have lost even the accuracy and power of the water gun. Such a scattered water gun cannot effectively extinguish the fire. In comparison, although those Mooks were not fire-based, they cooperated in an orderly manner and cooperated seamlessly, and the fire soon weakened. What are you doing? Everyone should focus on the target. Officer Jenny was also at a loss. Her voice could not reach the Squirtles now. They are too nervous and have too little experience in on-the-spot battles. Squirtle was so angry next to Ash that he was scratching his head and hitting the iron. Ash patted its head and said, "Go, Squirtle, they need you now." Squirtle glanced back at Ash, as if he was thinking about something, but soon, as if he had made a decision, he nodded and ran over resolutely. However, when it came to Officer Jenny, it was not in a hurry to say anything to the Squirtles. Instead, it sprayed a water gun on Jenny's face. Oh my god, Officer Jenny is wearing uniform, her face is still dripping wet. Her body. Squirtle. What are you doing? Officer Jenny was about to call out to Squirtle, but suddenly noticed its heavy eyes, and then she realized what she was doing. Isn't the panic of the Squirtles precisely because of the panic of the person in charge? Although he looked very calm and comforted them, they felt that they were unsure of herself. This Officer Jenny is also a bit on the younger side. Compared with the Officer Jennys that Ash and his team met before, there is still a long way to go in terms of experience. Then, Officer Jenny took a deep breath and said, "Squirtle, thank you, please help me out right now." Squirtle looked at Officer Jenny and nodded, and then shouted to the Squirtles. "Squirt! Squirt! Squirt!" However, even Squirtle's voice was not heard by the immature Squirtle squad. Squirtle was so angry that he poured a water gun on them. He did not directly participate in putting out the fire, so it was not considered a foul. The Squirtles finally came to their senses and turned to look at their captain. Squirt! Squirtle! Squirtle! With the addition of Squirtle, the 4 Squirtles finally gained a backbone. Just as Squirtle judged, the panic of the Squirtles was due to the influence of Officer Jenny's inexperience. This is the role of a trainer in battle. Don't think that the trainer just stands behind you and gives orders one by one. Now Ash will not let himself panic no matter what the situation is. He has understood that on this battlefield, he is the only support for his Pokémon to rely upon. The 4 Squirtles' water guns suddenly gained strength. They concentrated the water guns and quickly suppressed the flames. They should be lucky that the Mook team on the opposite side was not very efficient in extinguishing the fire, which gave them just enough time to catch up. Finally, when the Mook team on the opposite side suppressed the flames to only small flames and began to surround the flames with their bodies, cutting off the outside air and extinguishing the flames completely, the Squirtles had successfully extinguished the flames. Game over, Team Squirtle wins. After turning a defeat into a victory, the 5 Squirtles gathered together and cheered. This is the importance of a leader of the team. But after being happy for a while, Squirtle looked at his 4 former friends and said, "Squirtle, squirt. Squirtle." Then, it looked at Officer Jenny. Officer Jenny knelt down and said, "Squirtle, don't worry, I will definitely take them to complete the competition. They will definitely become the best Pokémon firefighters." Squirtle nodded and came next to Ash with a little ease in his mind. Squirtle. Just when Ash didn't understand Squirtle's movements, Squirtle suddenly released a dazzling light of evolution. Squirtle has suppressed its evolution for too long. Its strength and level have long been accumulated enough to be able to use Hydro Pump. This evolution is also a huge explosion of future potential. The light of evolution is very dazzling, and the evolved Wartortle is obviously very powerful, standing 1.2 meters tall. The angry appearance of Charmeleon after its eager evolution is completely incomparable to the current Wartortle. Wartortle, 190/215. Chapter 29 Houndour. Squirtle has actually evolved, and its compatibility and bonding with him have also been greatly improved from the previous number. It finally made its own choice. Since it chose to follow Ash in the first place, it should go all the way to the end. It officially bid farewell to its former partners and handed them over to Officer Jenny for future training. From this point on, it has only one identity, and that is Ash's Wartortle. In this case, Ash of course has decided to keep Wartortle with him. Therefore, the Pokémon Ash kept with him now are Pikachu 220/255, Snorlax 200/255, Bayleaf 200/215, Quilava 130/215, Slowpoke 135/180, Wartortle 190/215. Pikachu's compatibility has already been far reached in the highs, and his bond value is steadily but consistently increasing. Ash is not in a hurry about this. He and Pikachu get along day and night, and their compatibility will definitely reach full value. He just needs to let the bonding value slowly increase. The compatibility of Snorlax is also full. After Ash came to the Johto region and awakened the system, he came with it here and carried it with him all the time. Through daily training and feeding, the bonding value was slowly increased. Bayleaf and Quilava are both Pokémon from the Johto region. These two were starter Pokémon obtained by Ash because of luck, and both of them completed their first evolution. This Slowpoke is the Slowpoke god that Ash caught when he was in Azalea Town. It is very different from the normal Slowpoke and has very high intelligence. Ash plans to train it for a while and then let it evolve into Slowking. Although the Slowbro evolved from Slowpoke can perform Mega Evolution, this is of course not a problem for Ash who has a bonding system. Once the evolved Slowking can reach full compatibility and bonding values, it will can evolve into Ash's version of Slowking. But before that, Ash is going to catch a Shelter who is also suitable to him and his Slowpoke. Through this most complete evolution method, the evolved Slowking will have the highest degree of fit possible. In general, he has already accumulated a very strong power now. Ash, lunch is ready. At noon that day, Ash took his Pokémon for special training, leaving Misty and Brock to set up a camp in the forest and prepare lunch. I have to say that having Brock here can really save a lot of worry during the journey. Ash is also able to pursue his dream of becoming a Pokémon Master with more focus. Sorry, I kept you waiting. When we got back to the camp, the food was indeed fragrant. By the way, Ash, take out the bread. Brock greeted. The bread purchased earlier was placed in Ash's backpack. Because he was going to special training, the backpack was put down and given to Brock and Misty to watch over. However, when the three of them went to get their backpacks again, they found that the backpacks somehow went missing while they were not looking. How was it stolen? But the two of us are here, and we haven't seen anyone coming at all. Misty and Brock have micro-responsibility for improper supervision and not paying attention, but now is not the time to talk about that. Ash, do you have anything valuable in your backpack? Brock asked. I carry the badge collection box, Pokeball, and Pokédex with me. There is nothing of much importance in my backpack. Ash shook his head and replied. However, this backpack has been traveling with him from the beginning, and he must find it back for that nostalgia. A blue light flashed on Ash's body, and the power of his aura had quickly spread out throughout the area. Soon, he found a series of footprints on the ground. Judging from the shape, they should be the footprints of some kind of canine Pokémon. Did this Pokémon steal your backpack? Is it not for your items, but for the food inside of it? Misty reasoned. Ash and Brock both nodded and thought it made sense. It seems that the footprints are heading towards the forest. Ash, should follow them and see what's up. Of course, I have to get my bag from them. Ash and his gang didn't have time to finish their lunch, so they packed up their things again and chased after them. Fortunately, this time Brock planned to make sandwiches, and all other ingredients could be packed. Pika. Following the footprints, they had reached the depths of the forest before they knew it. Just here, the footprints were interrupted and they came to a patch of dense grass area. Blue light flashed across his body again, but nothing suspicious was found, but the stomachs of the three of them growled. "I'm so hungry." Misty's words made Ash's eyes light up. "Brock, let's start dinner. We should have some ingredients. It's best to use meat." Hearing this, Brock immediately understood and nodded immediately. "Of course, I was planning to make a ham sandwich." Having made up their minds, Ash and the other two immediately started to rebuild the tent, made a fire to cook, and even grilled the ham until it was fragrant. By the time they were finished, the sky was getting dark, and a full moon appeared in the sky. Finally, the target couldn't stand the smell of ham and jumped out. "Don't even think about running away once you're here." At that moment, the same old blue light flashed across his eyes, and Psychic broke out and was about to catch the target. But the pinkish light suddenly shattered, and his Psychic had no effect on the target. How can it be? Ash, who couldn't react for a moment, just watched the ham disappear in front of him. Damn it, it's a Dark-type Pokémon. Psychic attacks is completely ineffective against Dark-type. In the Dark-type canine Pokémon in the Johto region, Ash can already guess what Pokémon it is. Houndour, the Dark Pokémon, Dark and Fire type. Woo! It seemed that he was angered by Ash's attack just now. Suddenly, scarlet eyes lit up from the nearby grass, and a low roar sounded particularly terrifying on this full moon night. "Brock, just protect Misty while I handle this guys." Feeling the malice around him, Ash whispered to Brock who was beside him. "There sure are a lot of Houndour around." "Ash." Misty couldn't help but grab the corner of his clothes and hide behind Ash. Ash noticed that she was getting closer and closer to him by the day. He didn't mind it at all. "Don't worry, it's not that easy for them to defeat me." At this time, the other Houndours had already appeared, as many as 4 of them, surrounding Ash and his party. Their scarlet eyes were very scary. Woof! On the hillside under the full moon, there was a taller and stronger Houndour, looking down at Ash and the others with a terrifying aura. That must be the leader of these Houndour. Ash held the Pokeball and looked at Houndour on the hillside. "If I can beat you in this fight, you will let me catch you." Unexpectedly, the Houndour leader actually jumped down from the hillside and stood in front of Ash. It really accepted the challenge. "I'm not that bad so I won't bully you, let's go and decide the outcome, Quilava." Chapter 30 Caught. "If you don't agree with, you'll have to fight it and make it make sense." Ash sent out Quilava, who is also a fire Pokémon, to challenge the Houndour's big boss. Seen from a close distance, that Houndour is really powerful. On its face and the bone armor on its forehead, there are scars left by long battles. These are the marks of a warrior and a king. "Up, Quilava, burn!" As soon as Ash finished giving out his order, blazing flames burned on the top of Quilava's head and behind his tail. Roar! Houndour struck first, and with one breath the flamethrower spurted towards Quilava, its fiery breath hitting her face. Quilava, flame charge! Quilava's long and narrow body was raised high, and then he smashed it down hard towards the attack. The fire energy spurted out and turned it into a big fireball. This move will continuously increase Quilava's speed as long and after he uses it. The already agile Quilava easily dodged Houndour's flamethrower and rushed towards it from the side. The Houndour has obviously been through many battles and has rich combat experience. It used his scent to lock on where he is early in the morning and his figure disappeared. The moment the flame charge was about to hit, it disappeared. Nanny wa. He frowned. Facing a dark Pokémon, he needed to beware of all kinds of weird dark-type moves. Sure enough, the disappeared Houndour suddenly appeared beside Quilava, knocking him away. "How can that be?" Misty exclaimed. She couldn't understand why Houndour was there. But Ash sneered. "It was indeed a dark-type skill, this is the foul play move. Use the opponent's power to attack them back. The higher the opposition's attack, the greater the damage it will deal." "Quilava, are you okay?" Ash looked at Quilava who was knocked away. Fortunately, Flame Charge's attack was not strong and the damage it received was limited. This Houndour's movements are so neat. After the head-on confrontation, I could feel how powerful the Houndour in front of me was. However, just as the battle to catch it was about to continue, another shrill call came from the other side of the forest. Hearing this voice, the Houndour suddenly spit out a ball of haze, covering the sight of Ash and his party, and turned and left with his 3 companions. "Chase them, black creatures!" Ash said loudly and quickly chased after him with Quilava and Pikachu. With his current physical fitness, both Brock and Misty are left behind by him. He followed Houndour to a cave and saw his backpack opened and other food packaging bags scattered at the entrance of the cave. The cry just now was the cry for help from another Houndour here. This Houndour also looks very strong and tall, almost as much the Houndour leader. However, it seems to be very weak now. It is facing a golem, both of golem's types restrains it. The flamethrower it tried its best was easily broken by the golem's rollout. Just when golem was about to launch an attack, another flamethrower fell from the top and blocked its attack. Houndour leader takes action. After blocking the golem, it immediately rushed over with its companions. The 4 Houndours protected their weak companions, and the boss Houndour faced the golem's attack head-on. Seeing his companions coming, Houndour could no longer hold on and fell to the ground. Ash, how are you? Brock and Misty caught up and noticed the scene at this moment and immediately understood the situation. It turned out to be that these Houndours collect food from everywhere to help their weak companion regain their strength as soon as possible. It turns out that these Pokémon look fierce on the outside, but they are actually very gentle in the inside. Misty is no longer mad at the Houndours from before. The Houndours stared with scarlet eyes and breathed out a stream of flames again. However, fire-based skills are very ineffective against Golem. Golem uses rollout to disperse the flames, and then rollout again to knock the boss away. Seeing this, Ash frowned and jumped down to stand with Houndour boss. Houndour, make quick work of it, your companions must heal quickly. You speed up. After hearing Ash's order, Houndour roared at his companions, and the eyes of all Houndours began to release bright red lights. Boom! The evil purple and black energy burst out of their body and rushed towards the first golem in the rollout. The first one was knocked away, the second one caught up, the third one, the fourth one. Finally, the Houndour boss became so aggressive that he knocked all golem away. Beat up, as the name suggests, is a unique combat skill. All members of the team attacks. The more Pokémon that attacks, the more times the skill attacks. Brock, I'm sorry to bother you again. After examination, it was found that this Houndour's hind legs were injured and severely infected. Now its body temperature is very high and it must be sent to the Pokémon Center immediately. After Brock told the results of the examination, Ash had already carried the Houndour on his back. Ash, the nearest Pokémon Center here is 5 kilometers away. Do you want to carry it all the way there? Brock quickly dissuaded him. Although Ash is physically very strong, having to carry a Houndour for 5 kilometers on his back is no joke. There is no other way. Brock, Misty, please help me pack my backpack and catch up slowly. With that, Ash ran away towards the direction of the Pokémon Center. Roar! The Houndours, led by Big Boss, have also been following Ash. After running 1 kilometer, seeing Ash slowing down, the Houndours caught up. Woof! You mean you're going to carry it? The 5 Houndours and Ash took turns and finally arrived at the Pokémon Center in the shortest time. It should be said that the Joy family is indeed worthy of their work, a family that has been passed down for hundreds of years, and has a very high level of Pokémon medical treatment. Houndour had finished his treatment before Brock and Misty caught up. Now that we have all arrived at the Pokémon Center, we will stay here for one night. Houndour also needs a night to recover. Early the next morning, when Ash walked out of the Pokémon Center with the Houndour, Houndour was already waiting in the forest with his companions. They seemed to have been waiting here all night. The Houndour leader stepped forward and gently licked the injured Houndour. Ugh! The 5 Houndours suddenly started whimpering, causing Ash and his group to look blankly at what was going on. At this time, Houndour, who had recovered from his injury, walked up to his 4 companions, reluctantly glanced at his boss, and walked back into the depths of the forest. And the leader Houndour came in front of Ash. Woof! This Houndour seems to be very happy, with his red eyes full of anticipation and joy. Ash understood what it was saying and took out his Pokeball. Then, please help me with my goal, Houndour. Houndour, 135/180. Chapter 31 Totodile. Ash, you have been very lucky recently. You have already caught several Pokémon here. Sitting quietly by the river stream, enjoying the fun of fishing, Misty, who was sitting right next to Ash, couldn't help but wonder about Ash's recent efficiency in conquering Pokémon. When he was in the Johto Region, he traveled throughout the region, collected 8 badges, and participated in the Indigo League conference, but only captured 10 Pokémon. Those 30 Tauros he previously had were counted as one because being of the same species. But after arriving in the Johto region, he only got 2 badges, but Ash had already conquered 5 new Pokémons, namely Heracross, Bayleaf, Quilava, Slowpoke, and Houndour. As a water-type Pokémon trainer, Misty has not yet catch a new member for her team. On the contrary, Brock caught a Pineco. After catching Houndour, Ash temporarily sent Slowpoke to Professor Oak. This Houndour was very strong for its species because he was the leader of the Houndour pack. He had gone through hundreds of battles. Before voluntarily following Ash, he handed over the position of the leader of the group to the Houndour who had recovered from his injury. In fact, the Houndour's leg was injured when he challenged his Houndour for the position of the big boss. Now it wants to fight with alongside Ash, naturally handing over the position of the leader over. Therefore, it is very determined to follow Ash, and its compatibility with him is very high. It has accumulated enough experience and strength. I believe that after being trained by Ash, it will evolve soon and its bond will be greatly improved again. Maybe it's not far too away from the point of bond's evolution. The one that ASG is currently putting the most effort into completing the bond evolution is Snorlax. After all, it has very high compatibility, so until then, he will always carry it with him. Secondly, it is to Ash's Slowpoke and Houndour who were the leader of their respective groups. As long as they complete the evolution, they may reach the peak of compatibility, and the bond value will also increase by then, and they may be able to achieve bond evolution. But there is no rush for Slowpoke's evolution. Professor Oak is also very interested in this unusual and extremely intelligent Slowpoke of his. Stop being jealous, Misty, you said you're a genius fisherwoman, didn't you say you want to me how to fish? Why can't you catch any fish? Hearing Ash's voice next to her ear, Misty couldn't help but laugh. Brock is a little further back making food for everyone. What Ash and Misty got from Kurt was the lure ball, which is particularly useful for water Pokémon. They happened to pass by a river that looked good, and Misty suggested that they go fishing. In fact, everyone tacitly understood that Misty was simply envious of Ash for having captured so many Pokémon, so she wanted to catch one as soon as possible. I hope I can catch a Shellder so that I can evolve Slowpoke. Ash actually enjoyed fishing. It felt good to be able to relax like this. As for Shellder, there should be quite a few cerulean gyms. How about I ask my sisters to send one over? Misty asked with concern. She thought that Ash only wanted to evolve Slowpoke into a Slowbro. They already knew that in order for Slowpoke to evolve into a Slowbro, a Shellder needs to bite with its tail. However, Ash shook his head, I'd better catch one myself. By the way, Misty, your Staryu level is already very high, why don't you consider letting it evolve? Misty's Staryu was Misty's Pokémon even before they met. After traveling to the Kanto region and the Orange Islands, this Staryu is obviously very strong and is now of Misty's most dependent partner. It's just that Staryu's evolution, like Pikachu, requires special evolution stones. That is the Water Stone. Staryu's evolved form is called Starmie. After evolving, Starmie can obtain the Psychic typing, which will improve both combat effectiveness and the diversity of combat methods. If Staryu can evolve, Misty's strength will definitely improve a lot, and she will be one step closer to her dream of being a water Pokémon master. Now for Ash, it is very simple to obtain various evolutionary stones. You only need to use exchange points to exchange them. Before Misty could answer, there was movement on her fishing rod. After closing the rod, she fished an old kettle. Shot. Just smash the kettle on the ground. How can you throw garbage in the water like this? You need to sort the garbage well. With this interruption, the conversation between Misty and Ash just ended. Just when Ash was about to say something, his fishing rod suddenly tightened. Here it is. Ash knew how to fish, and a blue light flashed all over his body, and the ordinary fishing rod seemed to be covered with blue armament haki. He really didn't have any skills at all when it comes to fishing, he just reeled in the line and lifted the rod, and a small blue crocodile appeared under his fishing rod. They all know this little crocodile. It is Totodile, the water-type starter given to rookie trainer in the Johto region. When they were in New Bark Town before, Ash and his team also helped retrieve the Totodile that was stolen by Team Rocket. Ash, you are so lucky now. You even caught Totodile. Misty couldn't help but feel lemon-sour again. Now that you've caught it, you have to catch it. Ash was just about to throw the Pokeball when Totodile suddenly opened his mouth and let go of the hook, falling to the ground and dancing happily. So cute. Misty already liked Totodile very much from the time when she first saw it. Ash's Pokeball was thrown out, and the grass-type Bayleaf jumped out. Bayleaf, use Vine Whip. Two thick and powerful vines waved towards the dancing Totodile. Unexpectedly, Totodile actually danced and easily avoided Bayleaf's vine whips. This dance does not look easy. Ash couldn't help but praise, use sweet scent. The sweet scent emanated from the buds on Bayleaf's neck, and Totodile soon became lethargic and less energetic. Use your vines again. This time the vine wile hit the target head-on, and Ash threw the Pokeball at that moment, and in only 2 shakes, the Totodile was now his. I just got a Totodile. Pikachu. Ash, use Totodile to fight with me. Go, Poliwag. Misty's Poliwag fits her very well. Although he didn't know why Misty suddenly wanted to fight with him, since Misty had already sent out Pokemon, Ash naturally wouldn't refuse. It's up to you, Totodile. Totodile, who appeared again, has recovered from the sweet scent and started dancing with great energy once again. Poliwag, use Water Gun. Totodile, you use the Water Gun too. Totodile's Water Gun is very powerful, and he is on par with Poliwag, who was trained by Misty. It can be said that this one was already quite strong before even being trained by him. Poliwag, use Tackle. Totodile, dodge and use Bite. Totodile's dance moves were indeed extraordinary, and he easily dodged Poliwag's attack, and then bit hard with his powerful jaws. Very good, now just throw it out like this. Poliwag fell in front of Misty and suddenly began to release the light of evolution. It has finally evolving. Poliwag evolved into a Poliwhirl. After evolution, her Poliwhirl has grown arms and legs but lost its tail. It has the feeling of a devilish muscular guy, with short legs, a big stomach area and strong arms, and its big eyes are also very adorable. Wow, that's so cool. This sticky muscle feels so comfortable. Misty lay completely on Poliwhirl's head. Now that her Poliwag has evolved, Misty has no intention of continuing the battle. She puts her Poliwhirl away and says, Ash, I'm sorry, I just wanted to confirm your current strength personally. Sure enough, you knew Totodile's strength right away. Ash shook his head, Misty, I will give you this Water Stone. Whether it's the evolution of Staryu or your Poliwhirl, you can use the Water Stone. Water Stone? Ash, thank you. You are much stronger than me now, but I can't lose in the future. She just came close to him and gave him a quick kiss on the cheek. Totodile, 110/160. Bayleaf, 203/215. Chapter 32 Skarmory. Although Totodile was caught, Ash teleported and Wardle back to Professor Oak. It was obvious that this Totodile was still young, and although its strength was good, it was still a little weaker than Bayleaf and Quilava at the moment. Ash also teleported Wardle back so that Wardle and Slowpoke could teach and train him as a senior. Just like his Charizard in Cherrycific Valley, he continued to become stronger under the training of his seniors of the same species. Very good, Totodile and Wardle have been sent over. I will urge them to train well. I heard that Professor Oak was also a powerful trainer when he was young, so it's best if he helps out sometimes. Coming out of the Pokémon Center, Ash and his group ran into a boy who was rushing to heal Pokémon. Growlithe in his arms looked seriously injured. Why are your Growlithe so injured? What happened? Misty asked with concern. I lost the Pokémon battle. The boy replied frankly, she was too strong for me. After saying this, Ash immediately became interested, where is this so-called powerful trainer? They are on the bridge on the top of the mountain. So I advise you, if you want to go somewhere near there, you'd better avoid that bridge. Is he that kind of person who avoids fighting when he hears someone is very powerful? Obviously not, so the group of troublemakers went straight to the top of the mountain and found the bridge. I saw a tall young lady standing on the other side of the bridge. Brock rushed over in an instant, held the other person's hand and said affectionately, Hello, miss, my name is Brock. If you don't mind, please me your beautiful name. He needs to find new lines ASAP. Misty was just about to step forward to take action, but she didn't expect that this young lady would let Brock hold her hand, and replied to Brock, My name is Mickey. The young lady's answer suddenly made Brock get carried away and immersed in happiness. What a lovely name. Come on, this place may be in danger at any time, let me accompany you down this place. Let me ask you, do you have a fire-type Pokémon? This time the young lady didn't say anything, but asked this question without thinking. Brock, being the moron in love, nodded without thinking, of course. He does have a fire-type Pokémon. That is Suzy, a Pokémon beautician and a top breeder, and she has asked him to take care of her Vulpix. Then I challenge you to a battle. The young lady's face suddenly turned cold, she took out a Pokeball and stepped back to a suitable distance. The Pokémon used is only one, let's fight. It turns out that the trainer who said she was challenging the Fire-type Pokémon at the bridge was her. It was like a bucket of cold water poured on Brock's head. He quickly calmed down and said, as long as you don't mind it, I'll be happy to be your opponent. Mickey took the lead and sent out her own Pokémon. It was a big bird covered in metal feathers, Skarmory. This is a steel and flying type Pokémon. The resistance of the steel type Pokémon is very good. Among the 18 attributes, the attacks of 10 attributes are not very effective against it. There is also a poison type that is completely ineffective against it, but only 3 attributes are very effective against it. That is ground, fighting and fire type. In addition, steel type Pokémon will not be harmed poison or toxic, nor will they be harmed by the sandstorm effect. Among the 3 attributes that have outstanding effects on the steel type, Skarmory has the flying type attribute. Although it has the weakness of the electric type, it is immune to the ground type skills and in turn restrains the fighting type. In other words, Skarmory only has 2 attribute weaknesses, which are electric and fire. So, why did you deliberately find fire type to fight? After hearing Mickey's introduction, Misty couldn't help but asked in wonder. Mickey looked at Misty and said proudly, because it has already fought against other types of Pokémon, I saved the most difficult fire type until the end, after this will be the end of the special training on this mountain. Damn! Brock looked gloomy as he faced a formidable opposition, her Skarmory looks very powerful. I also have to show my ambition to win her heart. Go, Vulpix! This Vulpix, entrusted by a Pokémon beautician, is not good at fighting at all. Of course it wasn't Skarmory's opponent. Under Skarmory's Swift, she was quickly beaten and ran in all directions. In the end, he was knocked out by Skarmory's Steel Wing and lost the ability to fight. It's really strong, I lost this battle. The Steel Wing is a good move. A good trainer must know that Steel-type skills are most effective against Rock-type, but Rock-type restrains Flying-type. If the Flying-type Pokémon can learn the move Steel Wing, it will be able to effectively attack the Rock-type Pokémon. Mickey hadn't finished playing yet, so she asked, do you have any more Fire-type Pokémon? Brock is defeated, but Ash is still here, and he still has 2 Fire types. Let me take on this challenge. Ash took a step forward, and after thinking about it, he threw Houndour's Pokeball. After these 2 days of daily training, Ash and Houndour have gotten along very well. After all, the compatibility was very high from the beginning. What a strong aura it has! When Houndour appeared, Mickey was shocked. Houndour has a ferocious appearance, but Ash's Houndour with battle scars on his body looks even more ferocious than a normal one. Then go ahead, Houndour, and use Odor Sleuth. This is a skill that dog Pokémon can often learn. It can make moves that have no effect on ghost Pokémon easier to hit. It also boosts the accuracy of a move. Don't try to play tricks, Swift. Her current fighting style is very similar to the past Ash, she just keeps attacking, attacking, and attacking. Taking advantage of Skarmory's high resistance and going on a rampage. Use Flamethrower. The blazing pillar of fire shattered the stars. But at this time, Skarmory had already risen into the air and dived down, hoping to use the speed brought by the dive from high altitude to impact. This has always been Mickey's and Skarmory's specialty. However, this time they faced Dark-type Houndour. Houndour, use Feint Attack. Even though Skarmory was diving very fast now, neither Ash nor Houndour didn't panic at all. The moment Skarmory came down, Houndour's figure suddenly disappeared from the spot, then appeared in front of Skarmory and slapped him down. Now, Flamethrower. Skarmory was knocked to the ground and lost his advantage in the air. Ash seized the opportunity and quickly let Houndour make the final blow. How could it be? Skarmory, fly quickly. However, the flames successfully swallowed Skarmory, rendering the Skarmory incapable of fighting. I lost. It seems that my training is not enough. Mickey reluctantly admitted defeat, leaving Skarmory without the ability to fight. Brock comforted, you don't have to worry too much, it's just that Ash and Houndour are too strong. But regardless of victory or not, Mickey was ready to end her practice and go down the mountain to continue her journey. It turned out that she is also going to participate in this Johto Region Silver Conference. This is another future opponent of his, Houndour, 155/180. Chapter 33 Shiny. Forest. 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 The vegetation in the Johto region is very lush, and we already passed through a lot of forests during the trip. After bidding farewell to Mickey, after 3 days of journey, Ash and his party came to a dark forest again. Pika. As they walked, Pikachu, who was lying on Ash's head, seemed to have made some noble discovery. What's going on, Pikachu? Following the direction Pikachu pointed, Misty noticed a bird's nest box. This is a nest box for bird Pokémon. Just like fishing, this is a technique for catching bird Pokémon flying in the air. It looks like it's a bird's nest box. Looking at the size of the bird's nest box, Brock said the obvious answer, but it's too big to be a Pidgey's nest box, but it's too small to be a Pidgeot or Pidgeotto nest box. Brock's thinking was still limited to the Kanto region, but he forgot that the Johto region also had its own regional bird. There was the Hoot they had seen with Gary before. And the evolved form of Hoot is Noctowl. I saw a Noctowl land in front of the nest box, tilted its head, and found that the nest box seemed a bit too small for it. There seems to be a large number of Noctowl living in this forest. Normally, Noctowl should appear at night, but the light in this forest is very dim, which actually allows these Noctowl to fly around during the day. At this moment, a branch actually stretched out from the tree trunk under the nest box, driving the Noctowl away. Did that branch just drive Noctowl? Misty couldn't believe her eyes. Could that tree have become a Pokémon? Ash used his power over Aura to sweep the area to see what's going on. It was clearly a person disguised in the tree. What a meticulous disguise, he must have placed the bird's nest box there. Hey, look! Ash, who had been looking at the nest box, made a new discovery. A very beautiful Noctowl appeared in front of the nest box. That's clearly a shiny Noctowl. It is said that Noctowl is originally a Pokémon that appears at night, so its color is brown, so that it can better hide its figure at night. However, Noctowl with such a bright color is as bright and dazzling as a flame at night, and ordinary members of the species will also often reject the shiny Pokémon. Such a shiny Pokémon can live so freely in this forest and face that man in the tree without any fear. Its strength and wisdom must be very powerful. The shape of this beautiful Noctowl is a little smaller than the other Noctowl. This shape is just right for the nest box. This bird's nest box is clearly prepared for it. The man disguised on the tree trunk stretched out another batch of berries, trying to attract the beautiful Noctowl, but the shiny Noctowl tilted its head, kicked the berries away, and then tackled its head on the tree trunk. The tree trunk trembled, and the man fell down from the tree. Ash shook his head and stood up. Noctowl, I challenge you to a battle. As a Pokémon trainer, you should use one-on-one head-on battles to conquer a Pokémon. Catching battles is the process for trainer to get recognized by Pokémon. No. Sure enough, this Noctowl had no reason to refuse an honest battle. It just stood on the branch of the tree, tilting its head, waiting for Ash's Pokémon. Then it's up to you, Houndour. Ash sent out Houndour. After these days of training, this loyal Houndour should be evolving soon. It's a Houndour, who are you? The man who fell from the tree seemed to have fainted and only woke up now. After seeing Ash actually sending Houndour, he screamed in shock. Ash and his party no longer have the thought to ask what is going on, the battle is about to break out. But immediately, Ash understood what was going on. He saw the Noctowl swooping down from the tree, its big eyes glowing red, as if it had activated some skill. It's hypnosis. Brock on the side quickly recognized this skill. A red light enveloped Houndour, but soon the red light exploded. As a psychic skill, hypnosis is completely ineffective against the dark Pokémon, Houndour. This Noctowl has a special color. Its hypnosis is also very powerful and can make people hallucinate. I just keep suffering too much from its hypnosis. The trainer who fell from the tree came to Brock and Misty and began to introduce the Noctowl. Of course he didn't know that Ash, who was already aware of this fact, he might have forgotten almost everything else, but he still deeply remembered this shiny Noctowl. Houndour, feint attack. Noctowl's very strong hypnosis was actually ineffective against Houndour, and it became panicked quickly. It hurriedly flapped its wings to close the distance between it and Houndour again. But Ash had already seized that moment and ordered Houndour to attack. Houndour disappeared instantly and knocked it off with a paw slap. However, this Noctowl also reacted very quickly. Just when it was about to hit the ground, it suddenly flapped its wings and knocked Houndour away. Aerial Ace. Houndour, are you okay? The boss was knocked and flew more than 3 meters away, but he always maintained his balance and stared at Noctowl with his scarlet eyes. It shook its head to show that it was okay. Noctowl has regained his strength and is back in the treetops. It tilts its head, and the angle of distortion is much larger than that of the ordinary Noctowl. This is what it looks like when it is thinking. This Noctowl is also very intelligent. The next second, it flapped its wings violently, and air slash fell from the sky, like bunch of sharp blades. Air slash. Just because of the failure of hypnosis, this Noctowl understood that its psychic skills could not have an effect on the black dog in front of him, so he turned to using its flying skills. Ash grinned, use quick attack to dodge, then use flamethrower. Houndour roared, and the figure turned into a flash and disappeared in place. It has experienced hundreds of battles in the wild, thus giving it strong intuition and instinct for fighting his opponents. It narrowly avoided those air slashes, seized the momentary gap and jumped up. After getting as close as possible to Noctowl, majestic flames shot up into the sky. Only Pokémons like Houndour with a high bond value with its trainer can do such an action and respond to Ash's command. Boom! Flamethrower swept away air slash and hit Noctowl with a bang. Now's the time. Ash seized the momentary opportunity. Even though the Noctowl was shrouded in the smoke of the explosion, he still accurately threw the fast ball that he got from Kurt. This ball is suitable for Pokémon that can escape quickly. The fast ball took Noctowl in and fell down in front of Ash. Ding! 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 It just shook 3 times and then went out. I just got a shiny Noctowl. He did his signature pose. Noctowl, 120/225. Houndour, 175/180. Chapter 34 Pokémon the Movie 3, Spell of the Unknown 1. The final blow, Pikachu, use Iron Tail to finish it off. After catching the shiny Noctowl, Ash and his party met a young trainer during the journey, and issued a 6-on-6 challenge to Ash. In this regard, Ash is of course willing to accept anyone who comes. After all, this is related to the system points. Although Snorlax had just eaten and was barely still awake, Ash easily defeated the opponent with 4 Pokémon with him. Finally, for the last 2, Snorlax fell asleep, so he sent out Pikachu. Using her last bit of luck, she actually sent out her Quagsire, which had both water and ground types. But the outcome was still obvious. Pikachu easily defeated Quagsire with 1 move of Iron Tail. If we start from Miki's Skarmories, this is already the 10th battle in half a month, and the Pokémon are all more or less tired. By the way, do you know where there is a Pokémon Center near here? Ash and his party have not encountered a Pokémon Center for a week. Thanks to Brock's care along the way, there wasn't too much issue. Ash has also slowed down the progress of special training. Fortunately, she was here to tell them the way. Through the forest, you will reach the town of Greenfield. There is a Pokémon Center there. Misty immediately became delighted when she heard Greenfield. Is it the Greenfield that was chosen as the place where girls wants to visit most in the Johto region? Correct. She was also about to go there. Greenfield is a peaceful place with many green areas and fields, and the breeze blowing through it can calm the hearts of people and Pokémon. Of course, the greater attraction of such a place to Brock is that there must be a lot of young ladies there. As for Ash, he hopes to find the Pokémon Center as soon as possible, ask Nurse Joy to help him restore the physical strength of his Pokémons, and continue special training on that green grasslands. Judging from the introduction, it must be very suitable for Bayleaf's training. After that hill, it's Greenfield. As soon as she finished speaking, Brock and his party couldn't wait to climb the hill. However, the sight of greenery in front of them is really not what they had expected. The place that was supposed to be a place of peace and tranquility was actually covered in patches of purple crystals. The beautiful flowers on the green grasslands are constantly being crystallized. Standing on the hill and looking out, in the center of the crystallization, stands a crystal tower. It was originally supposed to be a villa, a warm home, but now it looks so desperate. Moreover, Ash always felt that this place felt inexplicably familiar in the memory of his previous bleak life. At this moment, news of Greenfield being crystallized has reached back to the Kanto region. Ash's mother, Delia, saw the news and started looking through old photos, and soon found a photo of younger her, Professor Oak, and another guy. The villa in the crystallization center is where the father and his young daughter in the photo live. That father is none other than Professor Oak's student, the famous Pokémon researcher Professor Spencer Hale. After confirming that what happened in the news was at the home of her friend Professor Hale, Delia quickly took Mr. Mime and Wobbuffet and came to Professor Oak's laboratory. Professor Oak, did you watch the news? Of course, Professor Oak understands the situation better than Delia. This professor is committed to studying the mysterious unknown. He just received Professor's research paper via email some time ago. I saw it, I was planning to go to the scene. Seeing Delia rushing over eagerly, Professor Oak nodded and said, speaking of which, you and Professor Hale are also very familiar. I want to go too. Delia said firmly, his daughter is still very young, so I'm really worried about her. They drove over as quickly as possible. When Professor Oak and Delia arrived, Ash had just come out of the Pokémon Center. Mom. In fact, this was the first time Ash saw Delia in person after traveling through time. Although we meet on the phone many times during theater travel, but this is very different. On the contrary, Pikachu and Delia were very affectionate. Before she got out of the car, Pikachu jumped off his shoulders and ran up to her. On Delia's neck, there is an agate pendant made for her by Ash. Ash, you seem to have grown a lot taller. Taller, stronger, and more handsome. Ash and Delia didn't know that the greetings between their mother and son were also filmed and broadcast live by reporters who came here to report on the crystallization of the green grassland. Just inside the crystal tower, a young girl sat next to the large fire beast. They were looking at them through the computer. It has a very majestic and dominant appearance, with strong limbs with iron rings. Behind the back is a flowing mane like a white smoke cloud, and under the smoke cloud is a sharp brown-red hair. The three-spike crown on its forehead are like a emperor's crown, very majestic. This mythical beast is none other than Entei, but little girl calls him Dad. Watching the parent-child interaction between Delia and Ash in the camera, the girl eyes becomes more and more lonely. Next to the computer, there is also a photo of Ash's mother and her father, along with an old guy. Dad, I want mommy too. The little girl named Molly said. As you wish, Molly. After hearing her request, Entei stood up, looked at her tenderly and lovingly, and spoke. Whatever she wishes for, it is willing to satisfy all. Ash certainly cherished this time when he met his mother during the trip. After that, Professor Hale also came to Pallet Town several times. Delia introduced everyone to Professor Hale's family and the relationship between them. Ash also found some fragments from the memory of his predecessor, the little girl who always liked to follow behind him and call him brother, Molly. That's Professor Hale's home. I'm really worried. Delia looked in the direction of the crystal tower and felt worried. At this moment, Ash, who was also looking in the direction of the crystal tower, suddenly frowned. Brock, Misty, please help me take care of my mother. Ash suddenly said in a little deeper voice than his usual. Seeing Ash's serious expression, Delia became worried. Son, what's wrong? But Ash didn't answer, just asked, Mom, did you bring Wobbuffet? Delia nodded, yeah. With that said, Wobbuffet was released. Woo Buffet. Ash looked at Wobbuffet. Wobbuffet, do you remember me? Buffet. Wobbuffet, you must protect my mother at all cost. When he finished saying this, Ash had already stood up, and Pikachu seemed to feel something and jumped on his trainer's shoulders. Something is coming. His aura sensed something that was very powerful rushing towards them from the direction of the crystal tower at an alarming speed. He is not having any good feeling about this. Shoo! Pikachu's cheeks flashed with a threatening lightning, and Ash could already feel who was coming. Entei. The crystallization suddenly spread, and the flowers and plants on the grasslands were being crystallized, very fast. The next moment, Entei's tall figure appeared in front of Ash and his party. Chapter 35. Pokémon the Movie 3, Spell of the Unknown 2. Entei, who suddenly appeared in front of Ash and his group, ignored them all and stared at Delia with his bright eyes. You are the one. Entei, speak up. Ash's eyes flashed with pink light and psychic enveloped Entei. However, there seemed to be a deafening roar of a beast in his ears, and Ash was beaten back violently. Entei, don't you dare do it. However, Entei paid no attention to Ash and did not even take his eyes away from Delia. You are the mother. This is a more advanced hypnosis than Noctowl, and it quickly hypnotizes Delia. Ash tried to use his psychic to stop him, but he was counterattacked by Entei's own. Pikachu, Thunderbolt. Feeling his trainer's rage, Pikachu's electricity exploded. However, Thunderbolt, which was 200% more powerful than its original burst, was easily dodged by Entei. Seeing that hypnosis had taken effect, Entei was about to rush over and take Delia away. However, at this moment, Wobbuffet suddenly appeared in front of Delia and stood in front of Entei without any fear of the harm that was coming his way. Entei's huge body rushed towards him, but Wobbuffet used it as a collision attack. He decisively used counter which somehow pushed Entei back. Wobbuffet, well done. Ash suffered a backlash from Entei's own psychic and he was not feeling well at all. Seeing that Entei's movements were interrupted, he gritted his teeth and threw the Pokemon ball. Snorlax, you should be awake by now. Use Protect. Snorlax was awake this time, and when it jumped out, it was like a wall of flesh, standing in front of Delia and Entei. Entei, don't you dare to take my mother. System, are there any items that can unlock Entei's hypnosis? Ash roared in his mind. Entei's hypnosis is not something trivial and cannot be healed by just some lumberry or smelling salts. He can only turn to his system. Human, get out of the way. At this time, Entei looked squarely at Ash. Stop talking nonsense. Ash gritted his teeth and waved his hand. He directly commanded his most powerful Snorlax in his hand to launch an attack. Snorlax, use High Horsepower. High Horsepower, this is a ground-type skill. It is a skill that Snorlax only learned during the recent special training. It has an outstanding effect on the Fire-type Entei. This skill requires a huge body weight to do some real damage. Among many Pokémon, only Snorlax, Golurk, Mudsdale, and very few species can learn it naturally. Snorlax's narrowed eyes suddenly released a fierce light, and his whole body was entangled with the power of the earth, heading towards Entei. Snorlax, 215/255. Sure enough, fighting with powerful enemies can greatly increase the bond value in the shortest time. It is recommended that the host exchange the item, Sacred Ash. The system never disappoints and it responds quickly. The item Sacred Ash is said to be related to Ho-Oh. Entei is the mythical beast that was resurrected by Ho-Oh in that fire from the legends. Yes, Ho-Oh's Sacred Ash will definitely be able to remove Entei's hypnosis, no matter what the origin of this Entei is. Additionally, this is Sacred Ash produced by the system. After spending a full 500 redemption points, Ash used up almost half of the redemption points he had accumulated after experiencing so many battles during this half-a-month period. But Ash ignored his heartache and immediately exchanged the Sacred Ash and blew it towards Delia. Ash. Delia recovered quickly and looked at Ash worriedly. Seeing Delia recover, Ash was finally relaxed a little. Snorlax, stop it, use Protect. However, Entei has already been stopped by Ash and Snorlax. As a legendary fire-type Pokémon, it has a bad temper. Roar. It turned out to be using the move Roar. Snorlax was forced back into the Pokeball. Now, there was no obstacle in front of Delia. Pikachu, Thunderbolt. His reaction has reached the limit. Almost subconsciously, seeing Snorlax being forced to use the Pokeball, he immediately ordered Pikachu to attack. However, the galloping thunder and lightning were easily avoided by Entei again. Damn! Ash gritted his teeth and held the Pokeball in his hand again. However, at this time, Ash's hand was held by Delia. Mom! When Ash turned around, everyone behind him noticed that his eyes had become red with blood due to Psychic's backlash and the intensity of the battle. Now Ash is also under the pressure Entei is releasing, and his spirit may collapse at any time. Ash! Seeing her friend like this, Misty was very worried about him. However, Delia still looked at Ash lovingly and gently touched his hair. Don't worry, son, I think Entei doesn't mean any harm to me. With that said, Delia put away Wobbuffet, which had been seriously injured and lost the ability to fight after blocking Entei's attack, handed it to Brock, and then stood in front of Ash. Entei. Although Entei had not attacked her with bad intentions, it still made Wobbuffet lose its combat ability with just one forward dive. If it hadn't been blocked by Ash's Snorlax, all the people behind her would have been finished by now. Ash can't be on guard all the time and thus he would put himself in harm's way. Entei, did Molly want you to come to me? It has to be said that Delia is smart and experienced. She guessed Entei's intention by the time his hypnosis was lifted. Yes, you are the mother she wants. It's the same thing, but this time Entei didn't use hypnosis. Mom, what are you going to do? Ash felt pain all over his body after the adrenaline went off. The consequences of the backlash of Psychic are terrible. Delia turned around and looked at her child with a smile. Ash, I will go and take care of Molly. You will come to save Mom and Molly, right? Hearing this, Ash nodded a little, of course. Delia smiled with satisfaction. She was brave and she walked to Entei's side. Entei, you don't need to hypnotize me, I will take care of Molly even without it. This time Entei didn't use hypnosis anymore and let Delia ride on its back, then turned around and rushed back to the crystal tower. When turning around, it glanced at Ash for the final time. Ash turned to Brock and said, Brock, please contact Liza and ask her to send Charizard over here as fast as possible. I need his power. Also, you must not act rashly on the crystals. With that said, Ash passed out. Chapter 36 Pokémon the Movie 3, Spell of the Unknown 3. Mom, it's me, I'm your daughter. Delia, who was brought to the Crystal Tower, was successfully able to meet Molly. Finally, she confirmed that Mitsumi was safe and was finally relieved. She remembered that Professor Hale's wife, Molly's biological mother, had disappeared a few years ago. Over the years, Spencer had to take care of both research work and taking care of his young daughter by himself. It must have been really hard. Delia gently held Molly in her arms. Now, her task is to take good care of Molly and wait for her son to solve the whole incident. Leaning in Delia's arms, Molly fell asleep happily and contentedly. Entei, whom she called her father, stood by quietly. After all, Entei was created to make Molly happy. At the top of the crystal tower, countless unknown were spinning and jumping, and it closed its eyes. Crystals were spreading. The disappearance of Professor Spencer Hale, the spread of crystals all over, and the emergence of Entei, the root of everything lies in unknown. After investigation, Professor Oak finally concluded. This unknown is exactly the research topic of his student. Professor Oak, don't talk about this now. Ash warned me before he passed out. You must not act rashly against those spreading crystal. Please stop those people as soon as possible. Behind Professor Oak, Brock and Misty looked at the setting sun and the increasing amount of crystals outside the window and couldn't help but become anxious. Because human machinery is already in place, it is necessary to clean up these spreading crystals on the green grasslands. Ash gave special instructions before he fell into a coma, so he must have some clues about what this is and how to fix it. But now even Professor Oak can't stop it, the machinery starts working, and the crystals are destroyed in large pieces. However, Molly, who regards the crystal tower as her home, sees the crystal being destroyed and her emotions start to fluctuate again. The unknown sensed Molly's negative emotions and suddenly began rioting. The diffusion speed of the crystals exploded, and countless crystal pillars suddenly stabbed out from the ground, overturning all the machinery near them. Fortunately, all the staff could run out, otherwise, they might have been crystallized together with the machinery. Seeing this scene, everyone's expressions turned gloomy. Has Ash woken up yet? Professor Oak suddenly turned around and looked at Brock and Misty. However, they shook their heads and said in frustration, not yet, Pikachu is staying with him every step of the way. As soon as Brock finished speaking, Ash's voice came from outside the door, Brock, Misty, I'm fine. Is Charizard here yet? Misty hurriedly came up to Ash. Misty supported him by holding his waist, and Brock hurriedly handed Charizard's Pokeball over to him. In addition to Charizard, Ash just contacted Tracy in the lab and sent over the 5 Pokémon with the strongest combat power and the highest bonding value. In addition to Pikachu and Snorlax who have been following Ash all the time, there is also Charizard who was specially teleported from Cherrycific Valley. There are also Bayleaf, Houndour and a member of the original team who just evolved for Ash, Totodile. Pikachu 220/255. Charizard, 255/255. Snorlax, 220/255. Bayleaf, 200/215. Totodile, 200/215. Houndour, 170/180. Originally, Heracross fit this better and was close to the peak of fit, but the bond value was not up there yet. And considering that they are facing the Psychic type unknown this time, the Dark type's Houndour will be able to help. Moreover, his Houndour will also evolve soon. To put it simply, this is the strongest team that Ash can form now. He will bring the strongest backing to rescue his mother and Molly from her illusion. By the way, Brock Misty, Professor, how many empty Pokeballs are there here? There was no time to raise money, so everyone took out all the empty Pokeballs they had, plus the few that Ash had, no more, no less, exactly 28. What a great coincidence! Ash, what are you going to do with all these balls? Professor Oak watched Ash put all the Pokeballs into his backpack and looked in concern. Ash raised his head and looked at Professor Oak. Professor, I want to rescue my mother. Ash, I'll go with you. Misty said. I am coming too. Brock also said. As traveling companions and best friends, Brock and Misty immediately offered to go together, and they could also give Ash help in his mission. But Ash refused. Misty, Brock, let me go by myself this time. It is personal. In that case, Ash, take this with you and keep in touch with here. Professor Oak handed a strange machine to him, which is like a mobile communication device. Taking the things over, Ash bowed to Professor Oak, turned around, and walked out of the Pokémon Center resolutely. Charizard, it's up to you. Charizard's figure appeared in front of Ash again, and he was very excited to see his trainer after some time. Man, I have to rely on your strength again. Ash jumped on Charizard's back. Charizard flapped his wings and flew towards the Crystal Tower. Looking at his back, Brock and Misty stood behind Professor Oak. Ash, he has grown to such a height that we cannot chase after him. During recent travels, they have been increasingly unable to keep up with Ash and his extraordinary growth. When catching Houndour, they could only keep running behind him like their current predicament. The little kid who was even late to pick up his starter Pokémon has grown up to be so reliable. Looking at Ash's back, Professor Oak felt very pleased and a bit old. That's Charizard. Ash didn't know, and of course, even if he knew, he wouldn't care at such a time. His high-profile behavior aboard Charizard was once again photographed by reporters and broadcast live. Molly, Delia, and Entei in the Crystal Tower, of course, can also see him through the computer. Dad, Mom, someone seems to be breaking into our home. Molly seemed to find a figure a bit familiar in her mind. It's that kid again. Entei stood up. I'll just go and drive him away. However, Delia looked at her son on the screen and introduced him to Molly. Molly, you forgot, this is your brother, Ash. You were following him before, you were always running after him when you were younger. Not only that, Delia had already noticed 2 photos of them placed on the table, pointed to the one she didn't have, with Molly and Ash in it, and said, Look, this is your brother Ash. Brother Ash. She tilted her head and made a cute thinking gesture. After all, she is a child, and her memories of some time-related things are all a little blurry. Ah, it's Brother Ash. Finally, she seemed to remember. Mom, Brother Ash is riding Charizard, and with a Pikachu. Does he also have other Pokémon? When he heard that he was an acquaintance of his daughter, and felt that Molly seemed to be very happy, Entei lay down again and ignored Ash on the screen. Yes, your brother has a lot of Pokémon. He is going to become a Pokémon Master. Speaking of her son, Delia's heart was full of pride. Pokémon Master. Hearing this term, Molly seemed to get a little excited. Dad, Mom, I want to have a Pokémon battle with Brother Ash, is that okay? Sure, Molly, as long as that's what you want. Entei said before thinking. Chapter 37 Pokémon the Movie 3, Spell of the Unknown 4. After receiving Entei's confirmation, Molly smiled and said, although I'm still young, it will be fine when I grow up. As she spoke, she gently snuggled down next to Delia, as if she was having a sweet dream. Entei seemed to sense something, stood up, and sank into the floor step by step, heading towards Ash at the tower. Dad, this is my first time doing Pokémon battle. Molly's clone Phantom suddenly appeared on Entei's back. Sensing her excitement and nervousness, Entei comforted, Molly, if you want it, you can do it. Sure enough, Molly's young Phantom suddenly changed. She seemed to have grown up in an instant and became a beautiful girl of 15 or 16 years old. She was tall and beautiful, with a silver cloak flying in the wind behind her. Her clear eyes showed confidence. I can do it. As a crystallized shadow, Entei can freely move through these crystals, but it is very difficult for Ash to break through. Although Ash came here on Charizard, there is only one entrance to the Crystal Tower, and that is the bottom of the tower. It's impossible to force a breakthrough from the top of the tower, that's where the unknowns are. Because of Molly's wishes, Ash and his grand entrance did not encounter any obstacles. Ring ring ring. It turned out it was the communicator who rang. Ash, are you okay? Don't worry, Misty, I'm fine. Pikachu. Ash, this is Skylar, have you seen Unknown? Professor Spencer's assistant, Mr. Skylar's voice appeared in the communicator. Not yet, they should be at the top of the tower. Ash looked up. His goal this time was not just to rescue his mother and Molly. Ash, do you know something about what this is all about? Listening to Ash's words, Professor Oak guessed that Ash must know something about Unknown. Know something here and there, but not everything to figure out why. Ash, according to Spencer's research files, Unknown seems to have the ability to detect the consciousness of other creatures. They can sense human hearts and then transform them into specific shapes from their imagination. Professor Oak explained to Ash. If that's the case, it makes sense. Unknown must have felt Molly's heart, so such a crystal tower appeared. Ash said softly. These crystals are very empty and cold like her young soul. My mother must have felt this too, so she wanted to take care of Molly in the meantime. Hearing what Ash said, Professor Oak was silent for a while. Ash, you must rescue your mother from their clutches. Of course. Ash smiled confidently. After hanging up the phone, his face darkened, because he came to a meadow with birds singing and flowers fragrant, the breeze was blowing, and it was very comfortable. It was simple but lacked life. Entei, with a grown-up Molly, appeared in front of him. You are a Pokémon trainer. Molly looked at Ash condescendingly, with fighting intent in her eyes. However, Ash laughed and said, when you were following me in the past asking me for candies, you called me brother. How come you have grown up and don't recognize your brother anymore? Entei jumped up, but Molly turned over in midair and landed smoothly on the ground. Brother Ash, long time no see. Molly greeted Ash like a friend reunited after a long absence. I became a Pokémon trainer and embarked on a journey. Ash began to talk about his own experience so far in his journey. It was the future that the young Molly had been looking forward to. This is my partner, Pikachu and Charizard. In addition, I have caught many partners and made many good friends along the way. I'm sorry, Molly, I'm tired, I traveled all the way and just got here yesterday. Perhaps, this is the price of going away. Ash embarked on the journey, so naturally, he couldn't know what happened to Molly and her family. Molly shook her head, now my father and mother are back. Brother Ash, let's fight. Of course, I will accompany you to the end of this fight. On this grassland, a standard battlefield suddenly appeared. Entei calmly lay behind Molly and swept the formation for her. Ash holds a Pokeball, and he attacks first. It's up to you, Bayleaf. Facing the grass-type Pokémon, Molly smiled confidently, a crystal Pokeball appeared out of thin air in his hand, and she threw it out. Please, Vulpix, battle for me. This phantom Vulpix has very nice eyes, but she's still just a little girl. Being able to make things up out of thin air like this, and just summon an unevolved form, is very cute. The fire-type Vulpix happened to restrain the grass-type Bayleaf. Ash couldn't help but feel ashamed of his predecessor. When his predecessor took Pikachu on a trip, he was still unfamiliar with the attribute table. Caterpie was sent out to challenge Pidgeotto as soon as his head got hot. Additionally, the Caterpie was just caught not long ago, not enough time to even train it a little. Even if Molly turns herself into an older girl now, she can't have Pokémon knowledge out of thin air. She must have studied it before. She was like 5 or 6 years old. Having a Pokémon professor as a father, she must learned quite a lot from a young age. Vulpix, use Flamethrower. Vulpix was created out of thin air by Molly, and it is not up to her to decide what skills it can use. This all depends on the species of the Pokémon. It should be said that no matter what order Molly gives, Vulpix can execute it to the letter, and the power is absolutely impressive. Use Sweet Scent after dodging. Facing the unreasonably hot pillar of fire from Molly's Vulpix, Ash did not panic at all. After Bayleaf dodged the pillar of fire, the sickle-shaped leaves on her head stood up. The sweet smell filled the entire battle arena, and both Vulpix and Molly seemed a little dazed. While you're at it, use Vine Whip and slam Vulpix on the ground. Without any hesitation, Bayleaf stretched out her Vine Whip and tied Vulpix up, then lifted it high and then threw it to the ground. Vulpix was immediately seriously injured. It's not over yet, Body Slam. Seize the opportunity and give the opponent a head-on blow. After Bayleaf evolved, she gained a lot of mass and learned the move Body Slam. Bayleaf is running towards Vulpix who had just stood up, and slammed on it hard. Vulpix is unable to continue the fight. Here, there is no referee for the battle between Ash and Molly, but everyone knows the outcome tacitly. Come back, Bayleaf. It's your time to shine, Wartortle. Wartortle, which has just completed its evolution from Squirtle, once again appeared in Ash's team. Water type? Then I'll use this one. Vulpix, who fell to the ground, turned into crystal and disappeared into the ground, and a crystal Pokeball appeared again in Molly's hand. After throwing it out, what appeared was a cute little lamb, Fluffy, M. Feroc's pre-evolved form. Bayleaf, 202/215. Chapter 38. Pokémon the Movie 3, Spell of the Unknown 5. Molly, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Ash took back the Wartortle. Thank you, Wartortle. The Fluffy summoned by Molly out of thin air was indeed very powerful and very lucky. After Wartortle was paralyzed by electricity 5 times, she took the opportunity to use Thunderbolt on him, and thus Wartortle lost his ability to fight, but also taking Fluffy down with him. Of course. Brother, your Pokémon are also very powerful. Molly also praised Ash. They are all my trusted partners. Ash threw the third Pokeball. Molly, I want to keep battling to become a Pokémon Master. This time it was Houndour who was sent by Ash. Brother, you are my goal. I can defeat you now. The crystal Pokeball appeared in Molly's hand again, and Fluffy, who had just been defeated, disappeared out of thin air. This time, Molly sent a small blue elephant. The ground-type Phanpy, the pre-evolution form of Donphan that Ash once encountered. On typings, Houndour is also restrained. I'm really familiar with types, but Molly, can you win this even knowing all of this? Ash and Houndour, who turned around, looked at each other and nodded. Of course, I won't lose. Phanpy, use Rollout. Rollout can be said to be Phanpy and Donphan's signature skill, even though they are not the only ones that can use it. On Donphan's nose and back, there are shapes similar to tires, so it's much easier to use the move with those. Use Foul Play. After receiving the order, Houndour faced Phanpy, who was coming to attack with Rollout, and his whole body began to be enveloped in evil purple energy. The collision occurred in the next moment. The powerful and heavy Phanpy collided with Houndour, and both of them were knocked away. Foul Play, a dark-type skill, uses the opponent's power to attack. The higher their attack, the more damage your Pokémon deals to them. It can be said that the higher the attack of Phanpy's Rollout, the greater the damage it will suffer. Flamethrower. Ash believed Houndour and gave further orders when it was knocked away. Sure enough, Houndour's scarlet eyes suddenly opened, his forepaws stepped on the ground, and before he could stabilize his steps, a pillar of blazing fire was spitting out of his mouth. The performance of Ash and Houndour attracted the attention of Entei behind Molly. It actually stood up. Molly, let me do it. Dad. Molly turned around. Entei had already come to her side. Dad, are you going to battle Brother Ash? Entei nodded. Then Dad, please hold back. Don't hurt my brother. Molly smiled and waved her hand, and Phanpy disappeared out of thin air. Entei appeared and stood on the battlefield. Entei. Ash looked at Entei, who suddenly came out, wondering what it wanted to do. This Entei was not simply born when unknown sensed Molly's longing for her father. It also has its own thoughts and reflections. It was born to make Molly happy. Boy, attack. Entei looked at Houndour and Ash. Just fight. Ash suddenly realized that Entei was going to be a sparring partner for him. Houndour, Flamethrower. His red eyes were excited, and Houndour could feel the explosive flames contained in the large fire beast in front of him. Houndour's pillar of fire burned stronger and stronger than usual, an absolutely extraordinary performance, and it collided with the searing shot that Entei seemed to spit out casually. Roar! Before the flames could burst, Entei roared, his body covered in flames, and rushed towards Houndour. A legendary is a legendary, and any moves that it use has much more power than an usual attack. Houndour will undoubtedly be sent flying if he is hit with that. Houndour, feint attack. Boom! At this moment, the previous flame collision exploded. Molly was blown away by the air wave and sat on the ground, but Ash set up the protection of the power of his aura and remained motionless. The figure of Houndour, who was knocked away, disappeared in an instant, and suddenly appeared next to Entei, showing his fangs and biting Entei. However, Entei is faster than it and attacks harder. Turning his head, a fire fang gnawed at Houndour, sending the seriously injured Houndour flying away. Entei is Entei, and he beat Houndour to a pulp right from the start. Houndour. Ash had no time to issue any orders and watched Houndour being swallowed up by Entei's flames. Woof! In the purple flames, Houndour's roar suddenly changed from pain to excitement. Not like that. The dazzling light of evolution is mixed with the light of fire. Evolution. Ash's eyes lit up, and he remembered that he had seen many fire-type Pokémon evolve in the flames. Although I don't know whether this will have a good or bad impact on Houndour, it has already accumulated enough experience, and it is also time for it to evolve. Entei's purple flame was slowly absorbed by Houndour in the process of evolution. With its ability, Flash Fire. Hoo! The flames were absorbed, and the evolved Houndour appeared in front of Ash. The original mask was gone, but the horns on the top of his head were as big and curved as those of a demon from the legends. His body was long and thin, with black fur, his neck and back covered with bone armor, and a long inverted triangular tail trailing behind him. All the details are like a demon from hell. In the past, people thought that Houndour was a messenger from hell and were afraid of it. It was originally the leader of the Houndour pack, and its size was larger than that of the ordinary Houndour. Now it has evolved and its size is even more astonishing, over 1.6 meters tall. Boom! Suddenly, Ash heard the heartbeats of himself and Houndour. Houndour, 244/255. After evolving, Houndour's compatibility was completely full, and even the bond value was only 11 points short. The battle continues. Ash immediately decided to fight this Entei full throttle. Houndour, use feint attack. Houndour's figure disappeared again, covered in black dark energy, and slammed into Entei. Roar! Entei turned around and took Houndour's attack head-on. Very good! Entei praised, and hit Houndour with another searing shot at close range. Before evolving, Houndour couldn't catch the flames of his attack, but now. Fire against fire. Fire Fang! Houndour's fangs were entangled with flames, and he bit the searing shot. Boom! Searing shot was crunched by Houndour, and the explosion broke out at that moment, and even Entei was pushed backwards. Houndour's mouth was filled with smoke, but its eyes were shining. Its power had increased a lot. Brother Ash, you are so strong. Molly, who was so shocked that she sat on the ground, looked at Ash, who always kept a smile, with eyes twinkling in admiration. It's not enough. Houndour, we need to get stronger and stronger to beat it. Houndour, 245/255. Chapter 39. Pokémon the Movie 3, Spell of the Unknown 6. Houndour, keep getting stronger. Dark Pulse. This is a move that Houndour has learned in the process of evolution. The dark aura spurted towards Entei, but Entei greeted him with another searing shot. This Entei didn't fight seriously from beginning to end. But in fact, Entei's power comes from Molly's heart. As long as she thinks her father is invincible, Entei could not be easily defeated. So, this sparring partner is perfect. Houndour, 247/255. The purple-red flames attacked Houndour's body unrelentingly, and its eyes were full of burning fighting spirit. Flamethrower. At this time, Houndour's flames seemed to be darker in color, and seemed to be mixed with some black dark energy. It is said that Houndour can spit up flames mixed with toxins, causing severe pain when burned. The crimson flamethrower collided with Entei's flamethrower again. Feint attack. Taking advantage of the moment when the flames collided and their vision was blocked, Ash and Houndour launched another surprise attack. Roar! Houndour roared loudly and bit Entei's body. This is the first time that Ash and Houndour have dealt an effective blow to Entei in the battle so far. Howl. Horrible howl is the hallmark of Houndour. Houndour, 249/255. Boom! Houndour, become the strongest one. As soon as Ash finished speaking, Black's flames enveloped Houndour. Bond evolution commenced. Entei was also taken aback by the changes in front of him. When the black flames started to surge, he jumped in front of Molly. This is showing that Houndour is in the process going into bond evolution. Dad, what happened to Brother Ash's Houndour? Before Entei could answer, a pair of scarlet flames opened up in the black flames, as if a devil had come to the world to cause trouble. Fight back! Feint attack! Houndour's bond gave Ash a completely different feeling than Charizard's previous evolution. The relationship with Charizard has evolved, and seems to be in a sauna, warm and comfortable, with a passionate and heroic spirit. However, this time, Houndour was also a fire Pokémon, but Ash only felt hot all over, but also felt a chill down his spine. Ash thought about what it would feel like to be in the complete bond evolution form. Is this the evolution of the bond between dark and fire type? This feels good. Houndour, 250/255. The last 5 points of bondage for completing the evolution. Houndour suddenly appeared next to Entei, and the black flame almost scared Molly. Seeing this, Entei didn't care about letting go, and Fire Fang directly bit Houndour. However, black flames burst out directly at close range, and Entei was swallowed by the black flamethrower. Roar! Entei's body flashed with fire, dispersing the black flames. It looked at Houndour, which was shrouded in black flames. Both the flames and the moves are completely different from just now. What is going on? Brother Ash's Houndour is so awesome. But Dad is still the best. Molly's confidence in Entei is its power. Houndour, crunch! The dark evil energy formed a bloody mouth on the black flame. Even Entei was stunned by this scene and was bitten on the neck by Houndour. Dad! Molly immediately exclaimed. She looked at Ash with hatred. Brother, I'm unhappy. As Molly's mood changed, the originally bright sunshine in this grassland suddenly darkened, and even the ground was trembling. Molly, it's okay, this is a Pokémon battle. This time, it was Entei who comforted her. After Molly's mood stabilized, Entei looked at Ash and said, Boy, what's going on? If you want to know, keep fighting. No matter the opponent, we will become stronger to defeat it. Houndour, 254/255. Howl. Shrouded in black flame, Houndour's terrifying howl was heard again. Then let me see how strong you are. With the final blow, Entei took the initiative to attack, and his powerful and heavy body rushed towards Houndour with burning flames. Feint attack. Entei and the black flames collided, and the moment the explosion occurred, the last bit of bonding value was received. Boom! Boom! The hearts of Ash and Houndour beat like the bells of hell. Just like Charizard's time, when the last bit of bondage came, the black flame split open, revealing the Houndour inside. At this moment, Houndour's size has grown again. The scarlet claws under his feet are burning with the black flames of hell. The originally long and curved devil's horns turned blood red and extended forward. The bone-like objects on the back became more ferocious and extended to both shoulders, as if a pair of wolf teeth were stabbing out. The most horrifying thing was that a sheep skull appeared in front of its moon, with black and red flames burning in its empty eyes. So cool! I thought this would scare Molly, but I didn't expect this little girl to be so courageous. She is indeed a child who can treat Entei as her father. Name, Ash Houndour, Bond Evolution. Attribute, Dark and Fire. Ability, Flash Fire. When attacked by Fire-type moves, it absorbs fire, and Fire-type moves become stronger. Curse Body. When attacked, opponent's moves sometimes becomes disabled. Skills, Feint Attack, Foul Play, Flamethrower, Crunch, Fire Fang, Dark Pulse, Payback, Beat Up, Nasty Plot. Houndour, who was changed by his evolution, actually has the ability Cursed Body. This is the second Pokémon that Ash has been involved in Bond evolution with. Unexpectedly out of all, it turned out to be the Houndour that he had most recently caught. This also means that if Ash's Bayleaf, Totodile, Slowpoke and other Pokémon complete their final evolution, they will definitely be able to complete the growth of their bond value soon. After evolving, Houndour quickly retreated. This time, Ash only felt his eyes darken, but finally did not faint. But this is also his current limit. He can only let one Pokémon evolve through bonding at the same time. But he feels that his physical fitness has improved again, and he believes that as more and more Pokémon are involved in evolution, he will soon be able to break through this limit. Molly, do you still want to fight? Ash looked at Mitsumi. He was just having fun battling with her to relieve her loneliness. Unexpectedly, Entei got interested and it turned into a battle between them. But Molly's eyes were opened. She shook her head. No, brother, come to my house and sit down and we can play together. After saying these words, Molly's tall figure disappeared, and what appeared in front of Ash again was a pretty petite girl. This is Molly's true face now, Brother Ash. Although this is still a phantom, it can be seen that Molly is very happy at this time. She took his hand and rode Entei with her. Dad, please. Entei didn't care, as long as it's your request. Chapter 40 Pokémon the Movie 3, Spell of the Unknown 7. This is the world created by Molly's heart, she is almost omnipotent inside here. But Ash still defeated the Pokémon created by Molly out of thin air. You know, there is only one possibility for them to lose their fighting ability, and that is if Molly thinks that they are defeated, and then they really will be defeated. This is why Entei is interested in Ash. When it saw the connection between Ash and Houndour, it couldn't help but take action personally and was even willing to serve as Ash's sparring partner. Of course, maybe this is Molly's subconscious hope, and she still thinks of his kindness. The feeling of riding Entei was something completely different. It made Ash smile and say, "Entei, I will definitely catch a real Entei in the future. If it were you, maybe you could do it." Entei took Ash to the room on the top floor where the real Molly was. Before arriving here, Molly's phantom had disappeared. The real Molly is leaning on Delia, having a beautiful dream. Although I couldn't bear to have this dream of her shattered, Delia was never Molly's real mother, and Entei was certainly not her father. "Mom! Ash, you are here." Ash nodded and patted Molly's shoulder gently. "Molly, wake up. Brother, you're here. It's perfect. Mom and Dad are back, and I met Brother Ash after such a long time." Molly smiled happily. She hadn't had so many people around her in such a long time. Ash was silent for a while as if he was trying to organize his words. He suddenly didn't know what to say to her. It was Delia who spoke. "Molly, I am not your mother, I am Ash's mother." "Mom." Molly looked at Delia in disbelief, jumped out of her arms, and looked at her with tearful eyes. "Molly, you can't stay here, come with me and Ash." Delia was still persuading, hoping that Molly could leave this self-isolated place and follow them. Since his mother had said it straight to the point, Ash had no choice in this situation like before. Sure enough, Molly's dream was shattered and her emotions fluctuated again. "No. No." As if the mind was frozen again, sharp crystals began to appear inside the entire crystal tower. Feeling Molly's psychological damage, the unknowns in the space at the top of the tower started to riot again. Ash had to protect Delia quickly. The erected crystals surrounded Molly. When she was at a loss, Entei appeared next to her again. "Molly, what's wrong?" "Brother Ash took my mother away." Hearing this, the crystal shattered. Entei and Molly appeared in front of Ash and Delia. "Put that woman down. Please, this line makes it seem like I have become a villain in this mess. Molly, I promise you that I will never let you feel lonely and helpless again." Ash ignored Entei's threat but looked at Molly seriously. "Stop lying, you haven't come to see me for so many years." Molly burst into tears and didn't believe his promise at all. "Boy, get out. If you don't, I will kick you out." Entei had already arrived in front of Ash. "Do you think I can't beat you?" Ash held Charizard's Pokeball in his hand. Go away, I never want to see you again. I only want my parents." Molly's last cry became the clarion call for the final battle between Ash and Entei. "Charizard, stand by for battle." Roar. Charizard's level is not only much higher than the newly evolved Houndour but its physique was trained through the macho brace produced by the system. It is much stronger in terms of just the momentum alone. Flamethrower. The Crimson Fire Dragon's flame collided with Entei's purple searing shot unceremoniously. They were evenly matched and exploded in the next second. Dragon Claw. The pace of the battle was stretched to the limit at the very beginning. At the moment when the explosion was about to happen, Charizard's figure suddenly came in front of Entei and knocked it away with his powerful claws. "Entei, do you think it's good for Molly to stay here all the time?" Ash looked gloomy and asked Entei, who seemed to be unharmed. "As long as this is what Molly wants." Entei still insisted on these words. His body was wrapped in flames, and Charizard was knocked back. "Humph, Molly is still young. Since she calls you daddy, you should think about her growth. Since you can't do it, get out of here." Ash didn't need to worry about Charizard's condition at all because he knew he was fine. The bond value was at full value and he could easily control Charizard's situation. "Charizard, drag this idiot Entei away from here." Boom. Heartbeats synchronized, red-gold flames enveloped Charizard. The wings of fire spread out, and Charizard's form changed dazzlingly again. The exaggeratedly huge dragon claw slapped the stunned Entei away, and then added a flamethrower, hitting it outside the crystal tower. However, the crystal tower suddenly stretched out a spike and held Entei up. Although he has no flying ability, Entei has too much support for his actions in this crystal tower. Under the bond of evolution, Charizard and Ash have the same mind and body, and they can even share the pain. Ash can even see everything Charizard sees. He can completely command Charizard to fight from a distance. "Charizard, let this fake beast see our true power." Ash has long been unhappy with Entei, who looks so pretentious with that cold look. From the beginning to the end, he acted like he was the boss and wanted to take his mother away from him. When he woke up from a coma, he kept thinking about giving Entei a good beating. Don't bully others too much. Sunza, maybe. Entei stood on top of the crystal tower and looked at Charizard, who was fanning the flames with his dragon wings. He gritted his teeth and a flamethrower also chased after him. Avoid it. Charizard dodged it immediately and returned it with a flamethrower without Ash's order. Then Charizard's figure suddenly disappeared, and the huge dragon claw blew Entei away again. A dragon and a lion started a chase around the tower. While Ash was watching Charizard's battle and commending him from further away, he and his mother came to Molly. Molly, I promise to find your father back, okay? Your father must be in trouble somewhere. He is still waiting for you in a corner of the world to help him. Ash squatted gently in front of Molly and looked at her, whose eyes were filled with tears, and also full of distress. Brother Ash. Probably after hearing the news about her father, Molly couldn't help but become nervous. Did her father get into trouble and couldn't come back? Brother, can you get Dad back? Molly grabbed his sleeve. Brother will definitely get your dad back. Ash nodded confidently, I will bring your father back soon. As he said that, he looked at Delia, Mom, take care of Molly. I'll be right back. The post on the Totodile chapter has been over and so far the result is that, yes, there is going to be lemon but not now. It will be during the Silver Conference. Once again thank you for your understanding.
Thanks for listening.